we were hanging in there, but no, it was good fun. My least favorite moment was when you ripped the play mats from my cold dead fingers.
Those play mats are
I was
not
unsuccessful.
No, they're staying here, but they are gorgeous. We have this Elsa one here, which is so beautiful.
Really
and
is.
Of course, there's other amazing prizes. Today we have day 2. As you all know, our players made it to 18 points yesterday. That's 6 match wins, made it to this day 2 cut. And today we have a little bit different format from past Disney Lorcana challenges. So we have an additional 4 Swiss rounds of core constructed, best of 3, of course. And then from there, we are cutting to a top 32 single elimination bracket. Again, those best of 3 matches, and that top 32 is going to be 70 minutes until we get to the top 8, and then it is untimed, Baker.
We love an untimed round. We love it when these players get, like, you can take the pressure of the clock off of yourself a little bit. Again, these are the best players in the game. I'm expecting them to have a reasonable pace of play anyway, but we've all seen those games where it's like lightning fast, and then you'll find that one pivotal turn, which is clearly like, this is going to decide that. I mean, don't get me wrong, what you ink turn 1 can decide the match sometimes, but it's great to see these players like really get to utilize their skill, expression. Big fan of that. And then, of course, when we get all the way to the finals, best of 5. So that's definitely going to benefit from having no clock to worry about.
I can't wait. Yeah, the best of 5, I think, is really wonderful in the finals. And those players have a lot on the line. We, of course, have our top 8. We're getting that golden
Mickey, baby.
Serialized Mickey Mouse, brave little Taylor. Those cards are gorgeous. I've seen them in person, and the foiling, the design, the artwork, of course, by Nicholas Cole, one of my favorite artists.
Incredible artist.
Nicholas Cole is fantastic.
He's such a gentleman as well. I met him at the European Championships for the first time, and he was just wandering the hall, and I had to stop him and be like, I just need to say how much I mean, all the artists I would say this too, but honestly, Nicholas Cole has done so many amazing cards. Like, my Chase Enchanted that I still never got was the Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer, which I know doesn't sound very villainous.
No, but
Mama Villain loves Mickey Mouse, so I've got to get it for her. But like, Mickey Mouse is the classic. We're Disney fans, so what an incredible prize, that golden brave little Taylor. But not to mention, Rebecca, the top 32 players, not only will they get to keep playing, but they will earn themselves a one-way ticket to the European Championships. And of course, as you can see on the screen here, they will be going home with that foil Elsa Ice Maker Challenge foil promo, which is absolutely stunning. If they can get round one more round, that takes them into top 16 to get this beautiful play mat, which I tried to my dismay to take away. But fair enough, I think the top 16 deserve it a little more than me.
Fair, that's fair. And then, of course, once we get up to the finals, there's so much on the line there. Of course, that best of 5 that we talked about. But not only is our first place going to get that foil rare uncut sheet and the Disney Lorcana trophy, they are playing for an invite to go straight to the Disney Lorcana World Championships. So much on the line, Baker. These players are hungry for it.
They really are. Again, whether it's you were an established player last year that wants to make your way back to Worlds, maybe you were just within a hair's inch of getting there, or maybe, again, like players like Tiago, who we saw expertly pilot Amethyst Steel yesterday. And again, I'm sure there's many more in the room who are brand new to the game, keen to make their impact. So yeah, a one-way ticket to the World Championship certainly takes some pressure off of you for the rest of the season. Don't get me wrong. I imagine they will still play as many events as they can, win some more prizes. Again, just keeping your skills sharp and keeping up with the meta. But you got to think it takes that pressure off a little bit, knowing, okay, I've got my invite, whether it's to Euros or to Worlds. So now I'm just playing for prizes at this point.
Oh, of course. And the glory.
Oh, of course. Always the glory.
Always the title.
Always the glory. That goes without saying. But you go back to the question you asked me. Is there a standout moment for you from yesterday's event?
You know, I think just being here, it's the magic of it all, seeing the players, the smiles on their faces, seeing everybody chat with each other, people connect that are, you know, interacting all the time online, but now being together in the same room. So for me, it really isn't one specific moment. It's just this entire weekend and everyone being here, so magical. You can't... it's hard I hope that people get to experience this at least once.
Absolutely.
You know, at least once if you can make it. Of course, there are 3 Disney Lorcana challenges here in Europe. We have the Bologna, and then we have Ghent, and that is in March. 4,000 players.
4,000. I'm so excited
when
for that,
they
man.
announced that, okay, so here in this room we have 2,000. It is going to be double the size in Ghent, and that is happening next March. And then next June here in Europe, we're going to have Dortmund, Germany. And then over in the North American region, we have Milwaukee is coming up. And that is just
I'm so excited.
3 weeks away,
I'm
Baker.
so excited.
And you're going to be there
I'm
with
so
us?
excited again. Worlds was such an honor, but again, like you say, just getting to interact with the community, and as a second shout out for a favorite moment, but non-gameplay related, just walking into the venue when all the players were queued up outside the door waiting to get in, just getting to breathe in that atmosphere again, and just see all these passionate players. So that was incredible, and I'm really looking forward to heading over to Milwaukee, meeting more of the American community. It's going to be such an honor.
It's really going to be fantastic, and we have a fantastic broadcast team there for North American DLC. And then, of course, there's 2 more happening in North America as well. In January of 2026, we will be in Richmond, Virginia for Disney Lorcana Challenge there. And then followed by in June, again, of 2026, we will be in Indianapolis. So
my birthday's in June. I'm going to have some birthday celebrations when we go over there. Although I am thinking, when we're in Richmond, Virginia, I hear it's not too far from New York. And I, as a musical theater, as a thespian.
Well, if you can make it there, you know you can make it anywhere.
Oh, did you see what she did there? But I've got to visit Broadway at some point in my life. So I'm hoping that I can double that up. And it's just going to be such an exciting season. And again, just looking forward to meeting more of the community. Again, maybe some people, there's only one specific event that they can travel to, whether it's work, family commitments, whatever it is. So we're looking forward to you coming out. If maybe you're a brand new player, maybe this is the weekend you discovered Lorcana for the first time. You were browsing Twitch and you were like, I like a bit of Disney. Let's check this out. So if we have caught your interest this weekend, please get involved. We've got set championships that have just started. Yeah, I'm already seeing people posting their Maleficent playmats, which if anyone would like to donate me a Maleficent playmat, then I'm just saying it will be well looked after. But it's great to see them winning their prizes. So if you're brand new, just getting into Lorcana, set championship is a great point to get into the game. Just for attending a set championship, you get a non-foil version of that Maleficent Monstrous Dragon promo. And again, could potentially get a foil one if you make it into top 8.
I've seen a few people sharing videos of that card with the foil treatment.
Oh, that's stunning,
it looks great. And if you are looking for a set championships, or if you're looking for a nearby local game store to play weekly with the community, please go on to the Ravensburger Play Hub, tcg.ravensburgerplay.com. Register, make your account, and then you can search and find a store near you. And another thing that is coming up that we haven't talked about is the Infinity Weekend that's happening in December.
Oh, I'm very aware of Infinity Weekend coming up.
Infinity Weekend is going to be something to keep your eyes on. Today, actually, we do have an Infinity event going on, and it's every time I talk to a player yesterday and this morning, I'm like, what are you playing? What are you playing in Infinity? There's been lots of Flavershims I've heard that are going to be making their way into Infinity play. Some Ruby Amethyst, of course.
Of course, and people I'm sure will very keen to play their Fortispheres and their multiple items with the Tamatoas, going back to a whole new world, Cindy Storm, and of course, El Clasico, the Be Prepared.
The Be Prepared. So now going back to the main tournament, though, for a minute. Okay, I want to talk about this because we I'm not sure how many players. I don't think we got a final number on how many players made it to
We're going to get confirmation on that and bring that back to you.
But we do have our all-important fantasy draft from the casters, and you can see here where the standings are. Baker, how are you feeling about your team there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that far behind the people in first place. Yeah, I got Zach Bivens, Pierre, the sailor of the Azure at Sea, Michelle, who was second place at the European Championship, Kendall Badette, who's joining us from over in America. Again, that's a player that really made an impact last year, but didn't quite get over the mountain to the World Championships. But I think he's absolutely going to put in the work this year to try and make it. And, of course, Adam Roger, also known as Harlan Sweet. So my guys did me very proud. 70 points is not bad, but I am by no means in the lead.
No, well, and you don't have anyone left going into day 2. That's going to be So our other teammates, our other broadcast teammates, we have Kawa and Spessy both with one player left on their roster, as well as Erica with one person on her roster. I'm sitting here with one person, but 75 points. I am tied with Kim
You
in
are
the
cooking,
lead.
mate.
I was cooking. My fantasy draft team was doing fantastic. We are left with Melissa. Now, I thought that Din made it to day 2. So
Mate,
that
how you got first and second place at World Championships, I have no idea.
You know, my team was stacked, but I do believe that Din made it to day 2, so we'll have to get confirmation of that. But Kim, 75 points and 3 players left here going into day 2. A fantastic roster that she has. So it's going to be really exciting. Of course, if you are playing along with home, please share in the chat which team that you are rooting for to win. Or if there's another player that is not on our fantasy draft roster that you are hoping to see make it all the way to the finals, please let us know. I've been having fun with the fantasy draft. How about you?
I'm still frustrated that Spessy took Thiago from me purely to spite me, and he's on an incredible score. But shout out to all the players. If you're in the chat, which team would you have thought would have the most potential to win? Forget what you know about how well they've done and who's in day 2.
Yeah, if go back to the beginning of day 1, if you just saw those rosters, which team do you think would have come out on top?
I think a lot of people are going to pick you. Again, you got first and second at the World Championship. Like, I don't know how you got away with that. I really don't. But yeah, I'm very proud of my guys. I'm sure all the casters are as well. Have you been enjoying Fantasy League? Would you like to see that something that we do throughout the entire season? I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed it. And we also were doing some other mini games yesterday. I hope that you
my incredible artistry. Absolutely stunning.
That power line
nailed it, mate. I've been in conversations with the art director since last night. We're negotiating a contract at the moment. I'm demanding a high fee to never draw again.
You know, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
I'll stick to what I know.
But speaking of art, we are going to have some new art coming into Disney Lorcana soon because Whispers in the Well. Whispers.
I'm so excited, man.
It's right around the corner.
It really is. And don't forget that this Tuesday will be the Lorecast over on the official Twitch channel.
Next Tuesday.
Next
Tuesday.
Yes, next Tuesday will be the Lorecast where we'll be talking about Whispers in the Well. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be showing us. But it is indeed a mystery. But they have teased that they've got some surprises for us. I can't wait to get stuck into not only an entire set of new cards, but give me more of that story.
More of the story. October 14th, of course, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Disney Lorcana. That's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And while this art is up on the screen here, I don't know the last time that I was so excited about the set and the art. Ariel is one of my favorite Disney characters, and so seeing an Ariel glimmer, I used to have more red in my hair as a child, and so when I was growing up, Ariel was my girl. I was Ariel in my heart.
It's a good comparison. It's better than me and Ratigan.
But yeah, that Ariel art, gorgeous. We have that Mickey Mouse detective coming back.
Oh, I'm so
We're
excited.
Getting gargoyles and Black Cauldron. And that movie is, I mean, the art that they're going to bring in from that game, I cannot wait to see what they do. Now, can I admit something to you?
I insist.
Until just a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, I had never seen gargoyles.
I can't judge you too much.
I had never seen it. I'm sorry, Twitch chat.
I can't judge you too much. I'm still to get to a couple of Disney films, and again, there are a couple that I only watched for the first time this year.
Same.
Like when they come out in the game, like I'm a caster. I need to know these characters and then the story. So I watched Bolt for the first time, which was like I was not ready for the emotional roller coaster that film took me on because again, I don't want to give too much of a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but the film. I don't know. I just saw Bolt and I was like, I feel like I know what the story's going to be. I just don't know if it's going to be for me. But then it came out. I was like, okay, well, I need to know what it is. I'll put it on. First 30 seconds, 60 seconds, I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting. And then there's the rug pull. If you've seen Bolt, you know what I mean by the rug pull. And it was like, okay, that's quite interesting. And then you meet all these wonderful characters like Mittens and, of course, Vinny and the pigeons.
Oh, the pigeons.
And, of course, the power hamster, the 1/16 Rhino. Ring, ring. Who is it? Destiny.
Destiny.
I've been expecting your call. It's such a fantastic cast of characters.
Really is.
And Big Hero 6, I genuinely, that's top 10 for me already. Like, I think it's so good.
Baymax hanging out right
We
behind
do.
you. Actually, can you pull this out for a minute? Because we have
Absolutely.
not talked about these
I
before.
insist.
Okay, these are the
Double-sided
oversized.
as well. I've just noticed this. I didn't know.
Yeah, if you saw the prize wall prizes, one of the things that is on the prize wall for players to get with tickets that they can earn at side events are these oversized cards. We have there's an Yzma up here on display as well. But yeah, these are the cards that players can take home. They have a few different ones up on the prize wall. No, Baker, stop trying to steal things from the set.
It don't fit in my pocket.
It won't fit in your pocket. Trying to take the playmats,
breaking
trying
the set.
to take the oversized cards.
Let me live, Rebecca. Let me live.
Oh my goodness. The prize wall, though, there's some good stuff up there.
Amazing stuff on that. Again, these uncut, they've taken
they
probably a good away.
Yes.
Probably a good idea to move it away from me. But man, like seeing something like that makes me, I love my job. It is such a privilege to be a host, a caster. But that uncut sheet got me like, I need to play some games. I need to be one of those uncut sheets. Yo, we don't have one yet, but I'm praying that one day, first chapter uncut sheet, be prepared. In fact, just give me an uncut sheet of B-Preps.
Can you
Come
imagine?
on, let's do it.
Can you imagine? That would be, talk about a collector's item.
Absolutely.
Yes, and so many wonderful things for collectors in Disney Lorcana. Of course, it is a trading card game, so we have the game part. We have Palace Heist, the Lumineer's Quest Palace Heist, but there's so much for collectors in Disney Lorcana. Not only do we have the different rarities, those new rarities, epics,
yep.
and of course enchanted cards, and then the iconic cards.
Iconic cards, super hard to find, much rarer than Enchanted. And we got the Mickey and the Minnie from Fabled. So yeah, like it just really increasing the enjoyment of the pack opening experience.
Absolutely.
And it was great to see a lot of these epics being showcased yesterday on the stream. They like, again, it's such a small thing, just removing the border, but they do look absolutely stunning.
They are gorgeous.
There's not enough good things to say about the art and all those things like that. They've just nailed it as far as I'm concerned, and it's only going to get better.
One of the things I love to see personally, I know that there are some collectors at home watching that probably tense up when they see it, but when we are watching matches and we have enchanted cards on the table from these competitive players, I love a blinged out deck. I love a blinged out deck.
Have you ever had a game or watched a game played by one of the co-creators of the Disney Lorcana trading card game, Steve Warner?
I have. Mr. Warner.
Mr. Warner does like to bling out his deck. I remember we had a game at the European Championships in Disneyland Paris. Blurple, like more expensive than his car is probably quite realistic. I don't know if I could do that, man. Like when I get my it's lovely to play with pretty things, but I just want them to stay in the pristine condition. But
sure.
They're there to be played, right? Players like to foil out their decks. They like pretty things, and I can't hold that against them.
I love the pretty things. It does feel bad when you have to put one in your inkwell, though. I will say that. But speaking of Blurple, let's talk a little bit about today and what you kind of expect to see. We haven't seen the meta breakdown yet of all the players that made it to day 2, but we know there's a lot of Sapphire Amethyst in the room. We saw the meta breakdown from yesterday, but what do you think we're going to see today going into day 2?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, we looked at the meta breakdown, and Blurple nearly twice as many pilots as the second place deck list, which was Amber Steel. And here it is on the screen. Thank you to our production team. And yeah, like no real surprises to see the top 5 decks here. We all knew that Blurple was going to be the front runner. Amber Steel, Emerald Sapphire, still very strong. And then Amethyst Steel. Again, I think it's just the consistency of this deck list. Like if you're coming to a DLC, that's quite a big deal for a lot of people. Like maybe that's your one trip away. Maybe you can't do multiple. The idea of like traveling all the way to a DLC and then just like not getting to play the game. Because like some of these decks can brick, right? Amber Steel can run a high amount of uninkables. Emerald Sapphire, you know, if you miss ramp or you miss Clarabelle too many times, it can seem to all fall apart at times. But unless you're a pilot like Tiago who just knows how to do it. But Amethyst Steel, it's consistent. You get to play the game, so it's not a huge surprise to see this at high numbers. I am very excited though. I'm going to go back to the last match that we watched last night.
That Emerald
Amethyst. I'm going to say it now. I think that deck is going to be the people's champion going in today. I was watching the chat. I was watching back some of the stream when I got back to the hotel last night, and man, the chat were really enjoying that green-purple Emerald Amethyst deck. Like, just so clever. Again, we saw Justice piloting it, but I understand that it's a bit of a collaboration between a lot of friends to find the right deck list and to optimize the plays. And again, I know that Lorcana Justice has worked very, very hard for a long time, so I think he's in a great position. Like, again, built a deck specifically to beat Blurple. So if you're running into a lot of them, then, you know, I think that's a pretty good strategy to take into a DLC. So I must admit, if I see some red purple, you're going to see me hype. You're going to see me happy. You're going to see me happy. You're going to see me screaming, crying. But like Emerald Amethyst for me at the moment is like that's the deck that I really want to see make it, because so that we can see why it's doing so well against Blurple, and maybe that has a knock-on effect into set championships and Milwaukee.
Yeah, one of the things I was saying yesterday, well, for real quick, Emerald Amethyst, I think, has always been a fan favorite deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was doing really well for a really long time. A lot of players on that deck. And after set rotation happened, it kind of seemed like it wasn't playable. But have they cracked the code? Have they cracked the code on Emerald Amethyst? We will see. But the Sapphire Emerald, I wanted to go back to that for a minute, because until now, I don't know if you felt like there's really been a combo deck in the game, and I feel like that's what we have in the Emerald Sapphire deck, is maybe the true combo deck.
I think so. And
then if you can't get those combos off, though, that's where I think Emerald Sapphire kind of falls a little flat.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you think about the synergy between Under the Sea and Heads Held High, Clarabelle, and You're Welcome to remove pieces while drawing extra cards. So yeah, you want to see your combo pieces together, but you build the deck as consistently as you can, like mostly 4-ofs and things like that. And again, ramping is the name of the game. I was playing Pleakleys, shout out to Pandemonium from over in the States, who's a bit of an Emerald Sapphire expert, has been dancing with Clarabelle since before she was the pretty girl, the pretty cow in the room.
The cow of the day.
Exactly. We've got some players that are very loyal to their in combinations. So yeah, shout out to Pandemonium, who gave me a lot of advice I played it in the set championships the other week. Again, I knew it was going to be a popular deck this weekend, so I wanted to have a better understanding of the play patterns and things like that, and the power level. It's the deck that can do some of the most unfair things, right?
But it can also beat itself.
It can also beat itself, whereas Blurple can also do relatively unfair things. Maybe not the equivalent of maybe not the equivalent of like, oh hey, I drew Heads Held High Under the Sea and wiped your entire board, but the power level of Blurple, and again, the agency it gives players over the game. The best players in the room want to know that their choices, their decisions, their skill expression is going to impact the gameplay.
And the top end of the Sapphire Amethyst deck is just insane. Your Hades, your Elsas, it's just got so much there.
Monstro, the big bag. Again, one of the best comeback cards in the game at the moment.
Really, and it feels like that deck is, when you get to the late game, it's all in Sapphire Amethyst corner, right?
100%, but it is for sure going to be an incredible day of Disney Lorcana trading card game. We're going to be throwing you over to the casters. I'm Baker, this is Rebecca. We are your hosts for the Disney Lorcana Challenge. It's an honor. We hope you have an incredible stream. Let's throw it to the casters.
Because he was round 1 and round 2, 2 losses.
Oh.
And then win. 6-2. So I'm very happy, because if he didn't make it, I wouldn't have anybody still for the fantasy draft. So I'm very, very happy.
Wow.
But it's really cool. It's really cool to follow along with even doing the fantasy draft that we were all like picking names and going choosing in the order is really, really, really cool. So cool. I believe we are live. So hello, chat. I hope everybody is doing well.
Yes.
We are going to be playing some games for you guys right now. So this is going to be a little bit of core constructed. I guess we should. Yes, we can roll a dice. So you goes first. I got a 7. Okay, 7's not bad. 7's not bad. Come on, 6. Okay, I will be on the play. Thank you. Okay. I will alter a couple of cards. I am so happy. I have a couple of cards in my deck that I got signed by the artists who were here. Signed.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very, very happy. So I will put four back.
I put 5.
Okay, no problem. But yes, I hope everybody has been enjoying the show so far. Day 1 was amazing to cast and watch all of these fantastic players. One of the last matches we saw yesterday was Emerald Amethyst.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
It was incredible deck.
Yes.
And unexpected for me.
Very unexpected.
Yes.
I was not expecting it. It's very unique deck. I think players done a lot of preparation, really tried to understand it. So it's super unique, super cool. But from what I saw, it takes very long to play. It's a very slow control deck.
Slow control.
Well, you said you love control, right? Maybe it's your deck. Maybe you should try it next.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. And another deck unexpected that I saw yesterday was Ruby Amber.
Yes, Ruby Amber. Yeah, that was on stream.
With the double shift of Mulan.
In the most insane thing that happened yesterday, in my opinion.
Cinema.
What cinema? Cinema. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I am good to start when you are, so
go.
I will begin by inking a Vision of the Future, and I will play Clarabelle, Clumsy Guest, and pass the turn.
Draw the card, and now
let's have a look. I've loved playing Emerald Sapphire. Okay.
Friends.
Finders
Chi trova
keepers.
tiene is an Italian. And pay 1 to
Basil. Very
yes.
nice. Okay, I will ready, set, draw. Let's see what we can do here. I have a few different options. Going to ink You're Welcome. I will play Sail the Azure Sea, so I will draw a card. And now this is a little bit frustrating, but I think I will be thinking, a little bit of uninkables, in my hand right now. I believe we might be throwing it over to casters shortly. I believe it's going to be Spessy and Kim looking after you guys. We're going to be bringing a game as fast as possible. Of course, we wanted to just make sure you guys are looking at some core constructed in the meantime, but we really want to show the game to you as much as possible. The atmosphere in the room is absolutely electric. So let's throw it over to the casters.
Yes, welcome back everybody. Just to let you know, there has been a slight technical issue this morning, but we're working to bring you feature match 1 and 2 very, very soon. But we're going to be jumping in with feature match 1 and 2 shortly, but with game number 2. So we do apologize for that this morning. Slight technical issue, as we say, but we're working very hard to bring you the games as soon as possible. And we will have 2 feature matches for you, but we are unfortunately going to be starting our feature matches with game 2. Kim, how's it going?
It's going great. I welcome Lumineers. We are here in day 2 of the Disney Lorcana Challenge, Bologna.
How do I say that in Italian?
And in Italian, because we are in Italy. Benvenute Illuminatori.
Damn. Benvenuti Illuminatori.
Illuminatori to day 2 of the Disney Lorcana Challenge here in Bologna. I'm so excited. Joe, at the end of today, we are going to have our first player qualifying to the World Championship.
Yeah, that is quite something. And I've also seen some of those uncut sheets in the building, and that is one of the prizes, many of the prizes up for grabs. There's also kicking off in the last 20 minutes a massive Infinity constructed event. So I'm very excited to see some of the deck lists from that tournament at the end of the day. But of course, all eyes for now on the main event here in Bologna. Core constructed, the first Disney Lorcana Challenge in Europe post-rotation. And there's a lot of interesting decks out there, Kim. We've got about 7 different decks, I think, still in contention for the tournament. 7 different color pairings, which is a really good amount. It's a healthy amount.
Yeah, one deck in particular I didn't expect to see do extremely well, but there's been quite a few making that top cut, and that's Amethyst Emerald.
Yep.
Did you expect to see that deck coming here and performing so well this weekend?
No, so I think we've got the top 4, haven't we? And it was, Sapphire Amethyst was the most represented by far. That's sort of the top don. Amber Steel aggro. You've got, of course, Emerald Sapphire and Amethyst Steel. Those are the sort of top 4. 5th place, maybe the underdog. The underdog deck. The under the sea Amber Emerald. Maybe not even under the sea, but that Amber and Emerald Lady and the Tramp deck. You can build it in a lot of different ways. Then that was the 5th deck. Really a surprise then to see also that Amethyst and Emerald in the mix as well. I didn't expect it at all.
I expected to see quite a lot of obviously what we all thought was going to be here this weekend, and that's Amethyst Sapphire, and I'm not surprised to see that up the top. Then comes Amber Steel.
Yep.
I love that deck personally, so happy it's here, but I did not expect the amount of Emerald Amethyst to be in the room.
No, and it's interesting, isn't it, because quite a few players from the UK seem to be playing that list, and I know it's something that they were working on and doing a lot of testing here in Bologna. They arrived a day early, and I've been told that there was quite a lot of testing going on amongst the UK players with this deck. They got a lot of really good testing and some advice from some of the UK community on some things you could change. One of the standout cards we've seen, certainly in the game I cast yesterday in that Amethyst and Emerald deck, was this Floodborn Cusco. It's a dual ink Emerald and Amethyst card. I've never seen it played before, but it put in so much work. It's almost similar to a Lady Tremaine mixed with a You're Welcome, because when you play this card, your opponent chooses one of their characters and puts that card to the bottom of their deck, but then they draw a card off the top. So it's a very, very fascinating card. Nice synergy with Clarabelle there as well.
Also a bit like a crossover of You're Welcome and a bit of Under the Sea, because you're sending that card away, but giving your opponent the chance to draw a card can synergize really nicely with the Clarabelle and also help you draw more cards if you're playing it against your opponent. And I'm really hoping we get to bring you guys some of those matches to see more of those games.
Yeah, I have actually just seen that on one of the feature match tables there is going to be an Amethyst and Emerald player. Of course, they're going into game 2 when we join them. But lots to look forward to today. Loads of Disney Lorcana TCG action. There is a bunch of rounds. We're going to be cutting to a top 32, but we are going to be starting with feature match 1 coming up very, very soon, and I am excited to be jumping into the action. It is going to be Cree casting, so I'm going to leave the booth and pass on over to Cree and Kim, but the players are sat down.
Yes, we're going to have David, who is our Amethyst Emerald player here, joining us. I'm not too sure what he's up against, but I'm really excited to see this deck, and I haven't seen a lot of it. Not something I expected to see a lot in the room here today, and he's going to be against Amber Steel.
Yes,
this is going to be a really interesting matchup.
Yes. So I just
welcome, Gawa, for joining me.
Thank you very much. I just spoke to David very, very briefly before he sat down, and yeah, he wasn't feeling too great. He came. I've already lost game 1, but you know, I was like, David, you got this, we believe. We actually know David very, very well. We were able to hang out with him quite a lot. David, this David,
this
indeed.
David, oh my gosh. I know this David.
We hung out with him a lot at the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Lille last year, the very first DLC within Europe. A very, very strong player, and as Joe was already mentioning, one of these players from the UK that has really been testing this Emerald Amethyst combination. So I am very excited to see how this deck will perform. However, I am a little bit worried about this matchup because it seems like this Emerald Amethyst deck has very much been built to tackle all of the blurple in the room. It seems a little bit tricky against Emerald Sapphire, but yeah, there we see the classic handshake into a fist bump. But we're going to be getting into this game right now. David will be on the play, of course, because he lost game 1. And yeah, we'll be starting very soon. Players are just you know, altering their hands, getting ready to start. And I'm super, super excited to get in here.
And Joe mentioned earlier this Cusco card.
Yes.
The dual ink Cusco card, and I'm really excited to see it maybe get some play.
Yep.
Have you tested much with this card yourself? I know you haven't really tested this color combination, but you've played a bit with emeralds. Do you know any of what David is going to be looking to try and do here? Because we know Amber Steel is going to be playing that aggro play pattern.
Yes.
It's going to be trying to fill the board, get as many characters on as possible, and gain that lore as quickly as possible, that aggro matchup.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So for this 7-cost Cusco, I haven't played around with it too much in testing and core constructing myself. I have played it in sealed format, so I believe it came out in set 8, Reign of Jafar. And even in sealed, it seemed to be quite effective, especially if you could shift it. And I believe the main shift target for this Cusco is the Cusco Llama, the 2-cost inkable 1/2 that when the card is banished, it draws you a card. So that seems like a very, very solid shift line. Also have to mention, I hope we see some epic Cusco Llamas because that's one of the coolest epics from Fable in my opinion.
That would be pretty epic.
It would be pretty
wouldn't
epic
it? One of the
indeed.
cards, Cusco Wanted Llama, which I'm so happy that we got reprinted this set because, in my opinion, because Amethyst is so well known for drawing so many cards, I think this Cusco Wanted Llama, because you're able to play him to the board, and then next turn if you challenge, but you're gonna get a card in return. You get to draw a card, and anything that draws you a card has to be a good card.
Yeah. I will say anything. If a card has...
I'm gonna say I love card draw.
If a card has draw a card, yes, that's a big benefit to it. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this deck. We saw it showcased at the final match yesterday. It was Justice piloting the deck. And yeah, as I said, the only concerns I have is it seems like it's a deck that can go quite long, if that makes sense. The games can be dragged out quite a bit, especially if it's against the likes of Emerald Sapphire against Amethyst Sapphire. So curious to see if David can hold up against this Amber Steel. So one of your favorite cards. The chat loved your enthusiasm yesterday about this card.
We are going straight into it. Game 2 here. Unfortunately, there's a bit of technical difficulties earlier, but we're bringing you straight into round 9 here. We're going to go straight into game 2. There's Bobby Zimmerowski on the board for David, and up against Bobby Zimmerowski, it is the Daisy Duck Donald State. And this Mother Gothel coming into play, Kawa.
Indeed, yeah. This Mother Gothel, another kind of disruption tool in the Emerald Amethyst box. It's, yeah, it allows you to, on play, you can pay an additional cost of 3 ink, I believe, and you can bounce an opposing character, or even maybe bounce one of your own characters back to your hand. So I really like a lot of these disruption tools, and just these general bounce effects seem to be quite good. We've seen the use of this within, for example, we've seen the Emerald Chromicon within a lot of the Amber Emerald decks, and against Blurple, that has been particularly strong. But we do see another Daisy Duck Donald's Date. That's going to be a lot of pressure coming down on Tony's side of the board against David here. David staring into the abyss, wondering how am I going to deal with these daisies right now.
Yeah, because we know Daisy Duck, 4 willpower, it's going to be hard. He can't challenge into that very easily. But also to note that Tony did quest with this first Daisy Duck, which did trigger, and that was another Bobby Zimmerowski put into the hand for David.
Is this triple Daisy? No, it's not.
Oh,
okay.
It's not triple Daisy.
Okay.
But the 1-cost Rhino coming in, it's going to be able to give -1 strength to one of David's characters this turn.
Until the start of this next turn.
Meaning, even if he wanted to challenge and try to deal 2 damage to this Daisy, he won't be able to.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit rough. Again, like there's a lot of different options available for David. The thing against Amber Steel is like usually this Amethyst Chromicon, which when you exert it, both players may draw a card, is quite good again against a lot of these slower Blurple matchups, Emerald Sapphire matchups, because you can do stuff like Bend to My Will, which we've seen happen in the previous match yesterday. But against a deck like Amber Steel, you really don't want to just be giving them cards for free, if that makes sense. So we might be seeing the Mother Knows Best discarded here from the Bobby Zimmerowski, but let's see what it is. It is indeed the Mother Knows Best, kind of wants to get rid of one of those uninkables.
I can see how this Ursula Deceiver card can be really good against all of those decks which have many song cards like the Emerald Sapphire and possibly even Amethyst Sapphire. But here, we know Tony runs Strength of the Raging Fire, so yes, it can be used to maybe get rid of that if he did have it in hand, but unfortunately didn't have it in hand there. But for David, it's still great information to know his opponent's hand and what he has in his hand.
It looked like it was a very, very strong hand, though. There was like a Tiana, a 4-cost Rhino, there was Fire the Cannons and Dock for the refuel as well. So honestly, looking at Tony's hand, it's looking really, really good. Seems to be in a very, very comfortable position. Yeah, I'm very, very curious to see what David's going to be able to do to pull this one out of the bag. This is the interesting thing, right? Like, I do wonder, like, how many Amber Steels these Emerald Amethyst decks have faced in the lead up to making it into day 2. I'm very curious to chat to David, also to Justice. Like, I'm assuming by the looks of this, it looks like it's not a very good matchup for them. And the Fire the Cannons coming out on the Bobby Zamersky and the Shift Rhino. This is so much pressure coming down here from Tony.
Yeah, and that Shift Rhino is definitely going to be a difficult Glimmer for David to get rid of here, because when that Rhino has no damage on it, it has Resist 2.
Yeah, this is basically a 4 strength, 5 willpower in a sense. So, like, you know, David has to really buff up one of his characters to be able to take it out quite easily. We did see Mother Knows Best. We know that's a disruption tool. Obviously the Mother Gothel as well. But the Shift Mother Gothel coming down. And this is going to be exactly what David needs to disrupt Tony's board a little bit. It's actually very, very important. The stat line of this Mother Gothel as well. It is a 4/6. So this card is very, very good at challenging into Daisy Duck, which is exactly what David's going to do here.
And being able to shift this Mother Gothel instead of just being able to pay the full amount and being able to play it, well, it would have to dry, but being able to shift it, meaning David is able to play it and challenge this Daisy as soon as she's played.
Indeed, Tiana coming down. Again, Tiana's going to be another card that's going to be difficult for David to deal with, but if enough of these Mother Gothels, Mother Knows Best, come down, these disruption bounce effects, maybe David can start to take control of the board, keep handling the pressure from Tony, and stay in control of this game.
Yeah, because for David, if he's going to be able to challenge into this Tiana, having the 4 strength of Mother Gothel is really great.
Yeah.
It's so important. But will David ultimately have to pay the 3 ink toll to be able to challenge Tiana and not lose the 3 strength?
Yeah, this is super, super interesting here because, oh, Amethyst, Chromacon, this is what I was talking about. Like, it's really difficult because in the one sense, David needs to be getting more cards himself, needs to have that card draw, but also doesn't really want to be giving Tony cards himself.
No.
But going to ink a 4-cost Donald Duck, establish a Rafiki. I do like how wide David's going here on the board. Needs to establish as many characters as possible to start dealing with this wide board. Is deciding to go on an Under the Sea.
What an amazing play here for David. But unfortunately, not going to get rid of that Rhino, as that Rhino has 4 strength. But super powerful in getting rid of this Tiana before she even has a chance to quest. Because if Tony was able to quest with both the Tiana and Rhino his next turn, that would have brought him up to 14 lore. Now this turn, Tony could possibly get up to 12, or maybe Tony's really going to need to do something now to get rid of David's board.
Yeah, I think the Under the Sea, like, I think, you know, maybe some of the viewers watching this will say, is that really good value? You're only getting rid of 1 card. Let me tell you, yes, getting rid of a Tiana restaurant owner is incredibly crucial in this matchup. You know, if you can Under the Sea it, if you can bounce it, all of these disruption effects are extremely, extremely important. So I'm very impressed with how David has managed to kind of regain control of this game. Yes, right now Tony does have that 10 lore advantage, but David is not out of this game by any means right now.
Nope. And I do like how he established that Rafiki, and it has Challenger. He would be able to possibly challenge into the Rhino first, get some damage on it. So then, being able to challenge in with the Mother Gothel would be able to get rid of the Rhino off the board and send it to the discard.
Yeah, I do like the idea of doing that. And you can do that kind of in either order, right? You could challenge with the Mother Gothel first, and then you can use the Rafiki to take out the Rhino.
It would end up the Rafiki also being banished
Yep.
in turn. But I think, you know, you're going to need to deal with this Rhino. It has such a high strength. Under the Sea is not going to do anything. But also, we have that Jafar coming in, and that is also has 3 strength.
Yeah, it's very, very important that this Jafar has 3 strength. So, for example, if David did have another Under the Sea, would only be able to get rid of that Daisy Duck. I don't believe there's so much, like, strength reduction within this Emerald Amethyst deck. So all of these characters that have 4 strength, 3 strength are extremely important and extremely resilient for Tony here.
Yeah, there's not too much strength reduction, I believe, in Emerald. We do have that Megara, which is able to reduce 2 strength, but I don't believe that David would be playing it.
Yeah, yeah. We see a Clarabelle inked here. Maybe David would have liked to play that. And Clarabelle really combos very nicely with this Amethyst Chromacon. So I can see where this deck's coming together, and I'm super curious, right? Like, we saw it against the slower matchups. Against this Amber Steel deck, you kind of have to pilot the Emerald Amethyst deck slightly differently. It's a big challenge here. Like, even if David's able to come out on top here, the You're Welcome does come down able to disrupt the Rhino. Gonna shuffle the Rhino and the 1-cost Rhino into Tony's deck. The deck will be shuffled, and then 2 cards will be drawn.
Yeah, I love this play from David, being able to play the You're Welcome on the Rhino instead of challenging it, keeping his board state safe. He has so many more characters on his board than Tony, really just trying to take back board control here. Tony on 12 lore to 0, but David's really starting to take control of the board now. It's not over.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, if David can win this game, he will still have to win on the draw versus Amber Steel, which, of course, if that happens, we will get to it. There were a few other options available for David here, too. For example, could have done those challenges that we mentioned and played a You're Welcome on either this Daisy.
The Daisy Duck Donald's date. It was a big prize, the big prize effect, but it's going to be a big prize for Tony sending that Bend to My Will to the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, it's weird. Usually Bent to My Will is the card that you don't really like to see in this matchup because Amber Steel usually has quite an empty hand, but maybe in this situation it could have been exactly what David needed to get rid of so many cards in Tony's hand. But it also depends on how fast Tony can play all of the characters from their hand. Nala being established. This is going to represent 3 lore on the board with Nala's effect. And yeah, Tony getting up to 16. It's looking quite dire for David here. Maybe we'll have to see a potential Under the Sea come out again. But yeah, I mean, if Tony can establish another character, yes, still hasn't inked for turn, can play. Potential other 2-drop's going to do Doc. No
Doc,
effect
no trigger.
here. Very, very interesting.
Still 2 cards in hand. Didn't need to do the Doc trigger. And this is where, even if David would have top-decked this Bend to My Will this turn, Tony already has many characters on the board. He has the story on board. He's going to be able to reach that 20 lore total this turn unless David is able to clear some of Tony's characters.
Indeed, yeah. David utilizing the Amethyst Chromacon, it's exerting it to draw a card, also allows Tony to draw a card. Really fishing for an answer to this board. It's looking like Under the Sea might be it, unless there's multiple bounce effects. Currently only up to 7 ink as well, so can't hardcast, but it does look like it's going to be Under the Sea being sung. This is absolutely huge.
Yes.
However, like I said, it would be very, very nice if somehow we can see that this Bobby is able to also take out this Jafar, because right now that Jafar is still representing 2 lore on the board. And the Cusco comes out. Joe talked about this card earlier. It means that this Jafar is going to go to the bottom of Tony's deck, and he's also able to draw a card. But very impressive by David, and he's on the board. Quests with the Bobby. This game is not over, but it's still going to be very, very close.
I was just thinking in my brain, and I didn't say it, and I was just like, I don't know if he's going to have a way out here, because I think his only way out is to sing Under the Sea and play the Cusco to shuffle the card in. But yes, he's going to give Tony 1 more card to play with, but that's exactly what he did. It's exactly what we saw. The Under the Sea into the Cusco, and this Cusco dual ink Glimmer was able to get rid of that Jafar.
Yeah, this is looking pretty interesting for Tony. Was able to establish 5 total lore on the board. However, this is still maybe okay for David. All David has to do, at least right now, is remove 1 of these characters. 1 of these glimmers, either the Daisy Duck or the Penny. If they're able to bounce it temporarily, remove it from the board, David will remain in the game. I was a little bit worried, I have to say, because if that Troubadour was maybe another Penny, a Nala, another Daisy, then suddenly, even if that is removed, there's still 4 lore represented on the board. So I think David has a little bit of a chance here. Again, not too sure what the cards in hand are, but surely if there's like if there's a You're Welcome, if there's a Mother Knows Best, if there's simply another Cusco, David can remain in the game. But David has so much ground to make up, so far behind in this lore race at the moment. So I think on our Amber Steel player side, they're feeling quite comfortable still.
Yeah, I'd really love to see perhaps another Cusco coming in. Not going to be a Cusco, it's going to be the Monstro. Unfortunately, though, for David, that Monstro isn't going to be able to challenge right now.
But it's...
Is that stopped chaos in his tracks?
Absolutely insane here from David. People probably wondering, wow, the Mother Gothel being inked, that's like the perfect disruption tool that David needs. But establishing this Monstro is going to be absolutely huge. This Monstro can just keep challenging whatever is exerted on Tony's side of the board. And now David has the option to start questing, can start getting some more Lord on the board here.
Yeah, I'm a huge Hercules fan, and I'm so glad that this card is finally seeing play. We talked about how powerful the Sing Together mechanic is, and for people not familiar at home, Stops Chaos in his tracks can return up to 2 chosen characters with strength cost 3 or less back to their player's hands. Meaning, those 2 glimmers on Tony's board that we're going to quest for 2 were returned to his hand. And David being able to establish this Monstro on the board, yes, that Rhino's going to come down. Tony, of course, going to give that Monstro -1 strength. But if David has more cards in hand, he's able to discard a card and ready that Monstro again, but Tony really being able to build back up a strong board.
What a board indeed it is. This is a total of 7 lore represented quests up to 17. This means that David has to remove at least 3 characters right now. This is looking dire. I honestly think it has to be probably another Under the Sea. David does have the chance for an additional draw with the Amethyst Chromacon. It would be absolutely insane if he can pull out some way to deal with this massive board from Tony.
Yes, because even getting another Stopped Chaos in his tracks and bouncing the Daisy Duck and the Penny back to hand would still leave 3 lore on the board.
No, if he had another Stopped Chaos in his tracks, it would actually be enough because you can bounce the Penny, you can bounce the Daisy, you can take out the Troubadour,
yes.
And then there's only the Rhino left remaining on the board. So there are a few different outs, but it seems like it has to be Stop Chaos or it has to be Under the Sea.
Okay.
Let's hope. That's the game,
that
unfortunately.
is the game, unfortunately.
It was a double hey hand from David, but I have to give huge props to him for staying in that game. It looked like at one stage he may have had the opportunity to come back, but I'm still very, very, very impressed with how that deck was able to hold up against Amber Steel. Unfortunately, not able to close it out and come back in the end. But after watching that game and see Emerald Amethyst in action once again, what are your thoughts on the deck?
I really love it. Getting to use that Dual Ink Cusco, especially Stopped Chaos in his tracks. I've been wanting to see this card see play, and I thought maybe, it might be utilized in Amber Emerald, but I think the way for it to be used might be Emerald Amethyst.
Yeah.
Because we saw it. David was able to build up a wide board state, being able to use that Sing Together mechanic. So having Under the Sea and Stopped Chaos in his tracks, definitely using the Sing Together mechanics to its full potential.
Yeah, I actually really, really like the idea of Stop Chaos in his tracks, and there's so many great things about the card, honestly. I think it's maybe a little bit under a lot of players' radars. Like, Under the Sea is like the main full board clear, board wipe. But the thing is, with Stop Chaos in his tracks, there's a couple of things, right? Number 1, it's inkable, which is absolutely huge. A lot of those Sing Together songs are uninkable, and that's a huge toll and a huge cost that comes alongside playing them. However, with this card being inkable, it means in the situations where you don't need it, you can simply turn it into a resource, turn it into some ink. But also, like, the difference between 2 strength and 3 strength is also huge. But in a lot of these Emerald decks, the biggest thing, in my opinion, is it also just combos so well with Clarabelle.
Yes.
Think about how good Your Welcome is with Clarabelle, how good Mother Knows Best is with Clarabelle. I think the Stop Chaos in his tracks really works out quite well within that deck. Not only within this deck, also within, like, Emerald Amethyst. I've seen a couple of different... Emerald Sapphire, my bad.
Yes.
And I think that, that card has, like, a 1 or 2 of within that deck is honestly quite interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I really love also the use of the Amethyst Chromacon.
Yes.
Because that, I feel like being able to, you're going to give your opponent an extra card, but teaming that up with cards like Clarabelle, when if you were going to use Amethyst Chromacon and you were going to use cards like Mother Knows Best and You're Welcome to give you're giving your opponent back more cards, not great. But when you play something like Clarabelle, you're going to draw the same amount of cards that they have in their hand at the end of your turn, and then being able to use something like a Bend to My Will perhaps next turn to be able to discard their hands after you've gotten all of your nice card draw, extremely powerful in my my opinion.
Indeed, yeah. So we're going to be bringing a feature match 2 to you guys as soon as possible. Don't you worry. We want to show as much Disney Lorcana TCG as possible today. We are here in Bologna. It's day 2, round 9. I do believe I was informed that a little under 300 players made it into day 2 with a score of at least 18 points. So that's kind of like six wins, 2 losses or better. They could get there as well if they had like enough draws as well. But it's mainly that 6-2 is like the minimum you need. And I'm super excited. Let's take a very quick moment.
Becca currently tied in first place. But I'm so proud of everyone, and I've been out on the floor and I've just been supporting them, and I'm so excited for everyone. I believe a majority of my team are still in the winning. You have one player left on your team, and that's Bennett. And I was so excited when I saw Bennett earlier today because I just had to congratulate him because he had such a tough day yesterday. He started out with 2 losses.
2 for Team Erica. We have Federico Makozzi, fantastic player, the previous winner of DLC Birmingham. And of course, Kim, you're chilling with 3 people still.
I still got Atlantis, I've got Zenon, and I've got Alphos or Harvey Parker. And you all stared at me and you all were like, what? You're picking Alphos? I said, you know what? Alphos is going to be my wild card because I know he got knocked out and like he just missed being able to make like top 16, and he got knocked out by Luke, who we know
Smith,
quite well.
Yep,
Luke Smith from Northern Ireland, who we know quite well. And I believe Alphos could do it. He's going to take back the thing.
He's a very strong player.
He's a very
strong player.
He's been practicing so hard, and so has Atlantis, and so has Zenon. And I'm just so excited to just cheer everyone on. And I'm so happy that I get to bring this to you guys, you Lumineers at home, I hope you're feeling how excited we are, how happy we are to bring you as much Lorcana as possible.
Indeed.
But right now, before we bring you feature match 2, I believe they're still getting organized. We are actually going to have an interview with the winner from our feature match 1.
Let's head
on over
to the interview booth.
Hello, Lumineers. We are here in Bologna, Italy for day 2 of the Disney Lorcana Challenge. And we are in the day 2 cut, first round of day 2. And we have our winner here on Amber Steel, Tony Slusher. How was that match for you?
Yeah, so the matchup was very surprising for me. I've never played against this deck before, so I wasn't too sure what he is playing exactly. But I saw 3 different shift lines, so the Under the Sea was very scary for me. And yeah, I just did what Amber Steel does, put character on the board and turn sideways.
Yeah.
Amazing. You're coming from Germany. Whereabouts in Germany are you coming from, and what's your local community like there?
I'm coming from near Leipzig. Yeah.
And do you have a nice local community in Leipzig?
Yeah, of course. Also, we have a nice team there. I'm playing in Team Incognito, and we were traveling here together. And yeah, big shout out.
Have you played at the other Disney Lorcana challenges last season, or is this your first Disney Lorcana challenge?
No, it's my second. I played in Bochum last year.
Great.
And yeah.
Well, good luck to you the rest of the day. You have 3 more rounds to hopefully make it to top 32 cut. Thanks for chatting with us, and good luck for day 2 here in Bologna.
Thank you.
Yes, huge congratulations to Tony for winning that game. Amber Steel also seems to be performing very well within day 2 so far. It was the second most represented deck within day 1. By the way, I'm super excited. As soon as we can show you the breakdown and the conversion rates from day 1 to day 2, we will be bringing you that data. However, we do have a feature match 2 to go to. I'm super excited to be casting another game alongside you, Kim.
Go.
Let's find out what the pairing is. It is a Ruby Amethyst versus an Emerald Sapphire. Where's Baker? Baker is so jealous
Baker
right now.
know that a Ruby Amethyst has made it into
I don't know if he knows.
I'm super excited. I've seen a lot of these Ruby Amethyst decks, and I really liked. I've been calling them a little bit of the fling-a-dingers because they have a lot of the moving damage usages.
Yes,
like the Bell Accomplished Mystic. But this Mulan coming in with 2 damage. Who cares if it comes in with 2 damage, because you can set up for that later shift.
Yeah, the later shift line, as you mentioned, you can also manipulate a lot of damage counters within this deck. Now, one thing to note, this is going to be Christoph versus Marius. Marius already 1 game up here on Emerald Sapphire. So I'm very, very curious to see. Okay, if we see a Tipo inked turn 1, you know what that always tells me, Kim?
They already have ramp.
They already have ramp on turn 2. But an Olaf, this is
Olaf? I have not seen this card today.
This is simply a 1-cost inkable 2/1, and I believe when you play it, you give something -1 strength, which kind of makes sense because that would combo quite nicely with Under the Sea, right?
Yeah, it would indeed. And Olaf, a friendly snowman. He's a 2/1, so similar stats to Basil.
Yes.
Well, I can see how how great this Olaf could be, and obviously it's great. He's on Marius here on 6 wins, and being able to use cards like Olaf to be able to reduce lore. If you don't have a heads held high, reduce strength. Yes, of course. Reduce strength, and then team it up with an Under the Sea can definitely be very powerful.
I think it's also this like 2/1 stat line is just like super strong. It's also why Basil is a very, very, very good card. Of course, the support ability is a key reason why Basil is so good, but I like to see the spicy inclusions here. Unfortunately for Christoph, there was no 2-cost card. Lumiere only drawn this turn, so unable to establish anything on turn 2. Moving into turn 3, I'm not too sure if there's anything either. I can definitely see an Iago, there's a Dumbo, there's an Elsa 5th Spirit. Not too sure what that card on the far left is in the hand, but we may still be seeing Lumiere developed alongside this Mulan here.
Yes, Pirate's Life went into the inkwell there. Could definitely just see a Lumiere honestly being played here. Marius did ink Olaf. Interesting that you chose to ink an Olaf instead of maybe inking a different card and establishing another 1-drop. But I think what Marius really wants to do here is try to get as much ink as possible to be able to do his Under the Sea tactic.
Yeah, I don't know how much establishing. I think establishing another 1-drop would be okay if you want, like, I don't know, a Baymax ship, but even then it's not enough total Singer to do like an Under the Sea. This Max Goof coming out, though, quite nice. This is the Singer 5, I believe.
This seems like a really fun, spicy Sapphire Emerald deck.
Yeah.
They're playing, I believe that was Prince Philip that got inked.
I missed it. I missed it. Oh my god.
It was the Floodborn Prince
the 9
Philip.
Cost.
The 9 cost.
This is very spicy
Floodborn
indeed.
Prince Philip. But they're still playing this Kida, and we've seen a lot of French players playing these Kida, and I've loved the use of this Kida because I do miss a lot of my 4-cost Sapphire.
3/3s, right?
Glimmers. Yeah,
yes.
We had No Natala, because we're here in Italy, but Grammatala, and that was such a powerful Sapphire 4-drop. But I really love this Kida, particularly for the ward. But it's going to be Be King Undisputed being sung by that Max Goof singer.
Yeah, unfortunately, poor little Olaf is sent to the discard pile and banished. This Kida, though, is very important for multiple reasons. Like you mentioned, it has ward, which is really, really good. This means if there are cards like Bell, for example, Bell will not be able to move the damage counters over to the Kida here. Also, the Exert ability is extremely powerful. You can Exert, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You can put one to your Inkwell, face down and exert it, and leave the other one on the top of your deck. So this effect, while it allows you to ramp, it also lets you kind of filter the top of your deck so that you know, okay, I'll be drawing some of my big bomb cards, such as the Hades. You've got like John Silver. In this case, the Prince Philip. We could see eventually when they get up to that 9 ink threshold, they could be playing some of these glimmers like Prince Philip.
Yeah, and I can see how it can be utilized, but there's another Prince Philip going into the inkwell right there. And we know these Sapphire decks gain a lot of lore, so I love the usage of Prince Philip being used here, and it's going to be Clarabelle, Contented Wallflower coming in, and if Marius' opponent here had more cards in his hand than he did, he's going to be able to draw a card. Yeah, indeed. And I think, honestly, the best thing about this Prince Philip is the fact that it's just inkable. You know, in this situation, it's the early game. We're not quite at 9 ink yet. You can simply ink the card. And yes, as you mentioned, Sapphire can get a lot of ink into play. It's a very, very powerful ramp deck. So I'm just loving the spicy inclusions in here. This could be like a type of Emerald Sapphire that just has a lot more top end, perhaps, right? And it kind of makes sense with this Kida. If the Kida can somehow remain on the board,
as I said, you can filter through a lot of the cards at the top of your deck and make sure you're drawing the highest value cards possible from the top of your deck.
Yeah, well, you do have this illusion Iago, and I really want to ask your opinion on this Iago. He has such a strong strength and such a high strength and willpower, was able to challenge and get rid of that Kita. We're going to see the elephant in the room this weekend, the Dumbo, the ninth wonder of the universe coming in.
Indeed, yeah. Dumbo, an extremely powerful card, run in many different Amethyst decks, combos extremely well with all of these evasive characters. But yes, I do want to pull the viewers' attentions to this Iago, because we need to remember it does have that vanish keyword, because it's a 4-cost inkable 4/6 that has evasive, but if Marius is able to target it with an action card, it will be banished. Now, the best card that you can do that with an Emerald Sapphire is indeed the Heads Held High. It's a little bit expensive, but if you can get to that stage, you can start to kind of pop a lot of these illusion characters quite nicely. There are some other cards that are sometimes included within these decks, such as Improvise, which is simply give chosen character +1 strength and draw a card. So if we expect like a heavy illusion meta, we could see a lot of these Emerald Sapphire decks start to include cards like that. But I'm curious, a Scar, this is a very spicy deck indeed. This Scar, 4-cost inkable 4/2 with Ward. Talk to me about this Scar. I believe, by the way, Kim, I remember this Scar because we pulled an enchanted version of this Scar.
Yes, we did. We were in the car opening packs, and I believe there's nothing like opening packs in a car for luck. Just a lucky car pack. But also, not to mention, this Scar having 4 strength.
Yes. Very important. I mean, yes, it has 4 strength, so against a lot of the, like, under the CE decks and stuff, it's perfect. But again, another card with Ward. Marius really valuing the Ward keyword. And it kind of makes sense. Like, if this Scar can stick to the board and then you can do a follow-up, like, I don't know, like, for example, here, if you're able to establish a Clarabelle and sing your welcome with the Scar that's already on the board, that seems pretty powerful indeed.
Yeah, and we know these Amethyst decks are going to draw a lot of cards. If Marius is able to perhaps do a You're Welcome or something on one of Kristoff's cards, perhaps do a You're Welcome on this Dumbo, it's evasive. He's not going to have a lot of ways to deal with this evasive. It's going to need to be a Hades or perhaps Mother's Knows Best. So we're not sure if Marius is running it, but this is for sure a really spicy deck indeed. And this is going to be the dual ink Mother Gothel coming into play. A 3-cost inkable. I believe this was one of my reveal cards, and I do absolutely have to admire the artwork on this card. We're going to see Iago challenge that Clarabelle, Contented Wallflower, Kristoff here going to be saying, no, Clara, and I really like this play because Kristoff is really going to be having to get rid of this Clarabelle. He doesn't want Marius going to be able to shift the 7-drop Clarabelle on top of this 3-cost.
Yeah, it does mean, I mean, Marius, luckily right now, is on 6 ink, able to ink to 7, and we could do that play we've been talking about, right? Could play the Clarabelle light on her hooves and sing You're Welcome with this Scar. So just want to inform the viewers, if you're not familiar with this Scar, as we said, it's a 4/2, it has Ward. It says whenever one of your characters challenges a damaged character, you may draw a card. I'm really curious to see what other cards are in Marius' deck to kind of combo with this whole damaged character synergy. The Hades coming down, taking out this Dumbo, absolutely crucial in this situation, but there does seem to be some type of theme to do with opposing damaged characters. We've seen the Prince Philip as well, right, Kim?
Yes, indeed. And like exactly what I talked about earlier, and the only way for, I wouldn't think that Marius is running a lot of evasive cards in his deck. The only great way for sure to get rid of this Dumbo is going to be able to use the Hades Infernal Schemer. It's going to send the Dumbo into the inkwell.
Yes, indeed. I'm very curious. Like, this is like still a lot of the standard stuff you see within Emerald Sapphire, but I'm very glad. Like, we've basically got 2 very spicy decks. Of course, Ruby Amethyst is a deck that's quite underrepresented at the moment within the meta, so it's great to see this on stream. But also, this is an extremely spicy build.
Yeah, and being able to
Emerald Sapphire.
Yeah, being able to sing with Max Goof here, and not to mention he's a 4-strength. 3 willpower card as well. Not easy for Marius to be able to challenge in and get rid of straight away. There's only Hades left on the board. Be King Undisputed. Marius did have to choose one of his characters to get rid of, and it's going to be Scar going into the discard because, well, Kristoff couldn't play any cards like Mother Knows Best and stuff like that because it has ward. Now he's not going to have it, but there's Basil coming in. Marius is going to be able to bounce a character card back to Christoph's hand.
No, you just missed it. Unfortunately, he bounced his own Hades back to his hand. Yes.
Oh, I love that play.
The Hades
even better.
had 5 damage on it after making the challenge into the Max Goof. Max Goof was buffed up by the Lumiere effect. Being able to bounce that Hades back to hand can really utilize that. Now, I do believe, though, I see a second star to the right coming down for Christoph, able to sing together and draw 5 additional cards here.
Yeah, being able to sing this card instead of playing it, meaning Christoph, well, he wasn't at that 10 ink point at all in his inkwell, but being able to sing this and still being able to use all of the ink in his inkwell to be able to utilize, play as many characters to the board, really setting himself up, because he knows that Marius has a Hades in hand, but that bouncing the Hades back to hand, Marius only going to be able to use that possibly to get rid of. He's going to want to get rid of one of these evasive cards because he's not going to have a lot of evasive glimmers of his own to be able to challenge into them.
For sure, yeah. We see the Dumbo picked up here for Christoph. That could be established, but then that can kind of bait the Hades out again, potentially. But there is still the option for Marius if they have a little bit of a heads held high under the C combo to deal with this board too. So Christoph has to kind of make this decision. Okay, do I start extending even more to the board? Do I go really, really wide here? And if that's the case, then maybe what's going to happen is he could get a little bit punished if Marius has the heads held high and under the C combo.
Yeah, and I really love the usage of this Lumiere, which gives all the other character cards +1 strength. So even if Marius doesn't have the heads held high and he does have the under the sea, it's not going to be able to target not even the Genie, because right now this Genie is a 3 strength character card.
Yep, indeed. We could see this Medusa come out and play. This Medusa, I do believe, is you may deal 2 damage to a character and then you can bounce a 2-cost character. It could be an opposing one or a friendly one. So this is quite, I think that might have been a slight error. I could have missed this. I was not too sure if that Lumiere quested already, but this would have been a great play to kind of quest with the Lumiere. You're able to bounce it back to your hand, yes, replay it, and just protect it there. But yeah, this is like exactly what we talked about. It's this kind of wide board now, and not only the Genie being protected with this Lumiere from under the sea, but also the Mulan, this 2-1, very, very nice to see. And this Lumiere synergy might be quite frustrating for Marius to deal with here.
Yeah, and I really like the Mulan here being can be utilized with cards like maybe if you don't even run the shift line, maybe Christoph doesn't even run the Mulan shift line. I'm so intrigued and I hope I get to have a chance to look at his list. But being used with cards like Mother Gothel, when something challenges you can move damage. And then also, not to mention, we haven't seen a Bell Accomplished Mystic come in. This damage would be able to be just moved over to the Basil.
Yeah, while that would be really, really good, Basil, again, this is a very important break point. The 4 willpower rather than 3. Basil, an extremely, extremely strong card. And he's just been left on the board there. So, again, curious to see what Marius's plan is here, if they have access to a way to try and remove Christoph's board here, because turn by turn it's getting wider and wider, Kim.
Yes, and I believe, is that another a second star to the right in hand? Unfortunately, he already sang one. He's not gonna he doesn't have enough characters that are dry to be able to sing another second star to the right, possibly find another B King Undisputed, because that would be that for sure would be a great way of getting rid of this Basil.
Indeed, yep. Marius just taking his time, trying to figure out what is the best card to ink in this situation. It is going to be the Clarabelle Contented Wallflower.
Yeah, and we know he still has that Hades in hand. He bounced it back to his hand. We're not going to see the Hades come in. We're going to see John Silver, Alien Pirate, and John Silver on play. He's going to be able to give an opposing character Reckless. And not to mention, not only on play, but whenever John Silver quests, it's going to be able to give an opposing character Reckless. But Christoph already on 6 lore, so it's 6 lore to 0. So many characters on Christoph's board. Okay, if you're Marius here and you gave Genie Reckless, okay, but you didn't quest with Basil because you know your opponent has so many characters on the board. Giving it Reckless, yes, you stop the quest, but there's so many songs in Christoph's deck. He's going to be just able to sing with this Genie.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, and it's a perfect example, Kim. You called it. It's going to be the Genie, the Iago, and the Madame Medusa singing together. A second start, a second star to the right coming down.
Second star to the right. Peter Pan would be so proud.
Would be so proud indeed, drawing 5 additional cards here. I'm not too sure if Marius has it in their deck, but imagine we saw something like a Bend to My Will come out, being able to get rid of all of those cards in hand. But now, Christoph, as you said, because that second star was sung for free, able to basically play as many characters to the board as possible here, but again, may still be fearing the potential Under the Sea.
Yeah, with such an abundance of characters in hand now. We see a Dumbo. I believe that's another Mother Gothel. We have another Lumiere coming in. Going to give... So all of his characters is going to have +1 strength from the first Lumiere. Going to have another strength and a Dumbo, the 9th wonder of the universe. But this Dumbo is not a 3-3 right now. This Dumbo is a 5-3. Meaning not even an Under the Sea could help Marius clear the board. He is going to need... The heads held high also.
Yeah, and what's crazy is even if it's heads held, okay, well, never mind. In this exact example, because Iago is an illusion, heads held high Under the Sea will completely clear the board. But if Iago wasn't an illusion, that card would still remain because of the double Lumiere buff.
Yeah, because right now Iago is a 6-6.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Kind of crazy indeed.
Yes.
It's a 6-4 with the damage right now, of course, but I mean, I feel like this is exactly what Marius needs. You need the Under the Sea and the heads held high in hand right now. Like, at this stage, even Bent to My Will, sure, it's nice, but if you're not doing the board clear, it's going to be very, very tricky to come back from this game. So I would love to see Marius potentially play a Vision of the Future, if that's available, to search for some additional cards. But again, it's a very spicy deck, so maybe a lot of the core cards that are usually within these Emerald, Sapphire decks have been cut in place for a little bit more of these spicy builds. I still very much expect that the Under the Sea is in the deck for sure, and I also think that the heads held high should be in there too.
Yeah, I think it would have to be, but even questing with this Basil, you're going to discard a card from your opponent's hand. Maybe you play You're Welcome, you'll be able to get rid of a card, but there's so many glimmers on Christoph's board. Yeah,
it's I mean, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 glimmers represented. This is absolutely insane. And yeah, this double Lumiere is very, very cool indeed. So another Hades coming down, taking out Dumbo. It looks like, I think throughout day one, throughout this entire Fabled metagame, Dumbo seems to be Hades' favorite target.
Yeah, and we've seen this Hades being bounced back to the hand by the Basil. Yeah, he didn't chose not to play it the previous turn, gonna play it this turn, got the John Silver in place so that when he quests with John Silver, he's gonna be able to give a character, opposing character Reckless, being able to play a Hades, he's gonna be able to get rid of that Dumbo, but still, so many characters on the board here for Christoph. And is already on 7 lore to 0. He has already such an advantage, so many characters on board, but then again, on Marius' side of the board, these characters do have such quite high strength and willpower.
Yeah, they're big bodies, really, really sticky bodies, a 5-5, a 5-4, and a 3-6. So Christoph probably won't have too many ways to deal with a lot of these characters. And now, if Marius can keep continuously setting up a lot of these big characters, again, it might have to be like the perfect sequencing of cards, but could now actually do like just hard cast the Bend to My Will to get rid of a lot of the cards within Christoph's hand, and then also do like a heads held high Under the Sea by singing with all of the characters on the board. I don't know if that's exactly what Marius is looking for, just trying to deal with the Dumbo, take his time. Right now, there is a total of 9 lore represented. Have you seen something, Kim?
I'm looking at the Elsa, the 5th Spirit, in Christoph's hand, meaning he could play this Elsa and exert one of Marius' characters. We know this Iago is currently a 6-6. He would be able to take out any one of these characters on the other side of the board.
Yeah, actually there's a lot of different choices here for sure. Could take out the Hades, could choose to exert the Basil, the John Silver. I'm curious to see which card is chosen. It looks like it will be the Hades. It looks like the Iago will probably be challenging here. It's another Mother Gothel. Oh, and my word.
I think it's really important to note here why Marius didn't want to quest with his characters. And he didn't want to quest with John Silver to even give Reckless, because Mother Gothel, when one of your characters challenges an opposing character, you're going to be able to move damage counters. And with 2 Mother Gothels on the board, meaning he can move 2 damage counters every time something's challenged. Meaning, and this Basil, 4 willpower, he's going to be able to clear 2
This is
characters.
kind of crazy, right? Like you can challenge with another character, move some more, so you can actually take out 2 characters by doing. This is really showcasing the use and the power of this dual ink Mother Gothel card.
Someone get Baker in the building.
Baker
someone get
is
Baker in the
backstage
building. Get
losing his
Baker
mind right now.
Baker has to be screaming, losing his mind right now. Ruby Amethyst is still in the game.
It's still in the game, and it's anyone's game to play for. Like I said, after removing a lot of Marius's key cards, Christoph still has this absolutely huge board, and the only answer we keep saying it is at least this John Silver is available as a singer for Heads Held High, and then an Under the Sea can be hard cast still. But as soon as like the 3rd Lumiere comes out, it kind of starts to get a little bit crazy as well. I think Marius just needs to start clearing the board as soon as possible. And Christoph, we have to remember, is also just keep questing. He's currently now on 13 lore.
Yeah, and when we started this, we were in game 2, and Marius has already previously won game 1, meaning if Christoph wins this game, it's going to go into game 3, and unfortunately for Christoph, if he wins, he is not going to be on the play, he's going to be on the draw, which is going to make it a little bit more tricky.
Indeed, yep. And it's just a scoop. Yeah, I think Marius is, I have to say, this is something that we talk about a lot, and it's very, very important for players to realize. Value the clock. Value the time left. There was about 23 minutes left on that game. I think Marius realizing, okay, I'm going to be on the play in game 3. This game really isn't going my way. My only out was that kind of Under the Sea, Heads Held High clear. So honestly, I think this is actually very smart for Marius to recognize that, say, you know, I want at least 20 minutes to play my last game out.
Yes.
I'm on the play. I'm feeling confident. Let's do it.
Yeah, because I believe there was like just over 20 minutes going in, and we know these Sapphire decks, but like particularly these controlling Sapphire Emerald decks, they're going to take a bit of time to set up their scene. They're going to want to play their 1-drop. He's going to want to play his Basil. He hit that turn 2 ramp, yes. He's going to want to be
decks. Not even like mid-range decks, right, that can just like quest pretty well throughout the game. They can't really turn on the gas. Their win condition is build up their big characters, ramp to them, make sure they don't get disrupted, then do your like sort of board clear combo with an Under the Sea, a Heads Held High, maybe a couple of your welcomes, and then slowly keep control of the game, but you're slowly questing towards victory. So these decks definitely need to utilize as much time as they have available to them to win their games.
Yeah, and both players here are going to be wanting to have the win. Players at the end of these 4 rounds of Swiss this morning, we're going to be cutting into top 32, so every game win this morning matters.
Indeed it does. I'm super, super, super excited to get into game 3. There's a little over 20 minutes remaining on the clock. But as you said, Kim, it's going to be Marius on the play on Emerald Sapphire. So Christoph now starting on a draw, will be feeling maybe a little less confident, but let's hope this time at least they hit a 2-drop, right?
Yeah, and perhaps like Marius, his build, I'm really admiring it. He's playing that Olaf friendly snowman. And cards like that being really utilized with the Under the Sea combo. I see an Under the Sea in his opening hand as well, but it doesn't seem like he's playing that Baymax shift, which he could have been used with if he was able to establish a T-bow on board and maybe shift the Baymax, which we've seen earlier being done. Shift the Baymax on the 1-drop. That Olaf could have been shifted on top of by the Baymax to sing Under the Sea. But unfortunately, a lot of the Glimmers and Christoph's decks have such high strength, and teaming up with characters, the other character cards like that Lumiere to give all of his other characters a +1 strength really does a number on his opponent not being able to use Under the Sea.
Yeah, Christoph here deciding what to ink. It's between a Palace guard, also has a 1-cost Milan. Gonna opt to ink a Maui Half Shark. We can see that second star to the right in the opening hand. Not really what you want to see. That might cost him and brick him in a little bit later into the game. Marius, we did see ink a Tipo. Unfortunately, was not able to establish a 1-drop. But again, like we keep saying, if you see a Tipo inked, it's very likely that there's another form of ramp available to Marius here.
Yeah, and I believe I did see a Sail the Razorite Sea in his hand. Quite possibly, yes, what we're going to see come out here, he will be able to draw a card. He could possibly, if he drew into a 1-drop, could ink an additional card, and he would be able to use that ink to play that 1-drop.
Yeah, we'll see. It's not always the best, but sometimes it's good. For example, the Clarabelle makes a lot of sense, right? That's the type of 1-drop you would like to establish, because then you're setting up your shift line. Sometimes it's tricky, sometimes you'd rather just keep, if you have access to another 1-drop, okay, this will just be my very easy ink for the next turn. But on Christoph's side, it's going to be establishing a power line. This is the 3-2 Singer for Glimmer from Ruby. Very, very nice to see Singer within Ruby, I have to say. Really, really nice mechanic we saw within the recent Fable set.
Yeah, and I have to talk about this Max Goof in his hand as well, because he is also a Singer, meaning at the turn after this Max Goof is played, so next turn, Christoph could play this Max Goof, and then the turn after that, if all of his characters survive, we could see Second Star to the Right being sung that early on, which is huge.
It's a big reason why you play these Singer cards. Of course, they combo pretty well with the likes of B King Undisputed, but exactly, if you have your 1-cost card, your Singer 4 Powerline, and your Singer 5 Max Goof, suddenly on turn 4, you'll be singing Second Star to the Right.
And I've talked a lot about this just in theory, but I haven't actually gotten the chance to put it to test, because how consistent is it? And are you willing to risk it for the biscuits?
I think it might be happening here. I think it might be happening indeed. We did see the Kida established for Marius. I think the big problem with this play, while it's quite good, is, well, okay, actually, for this particular line, this was huge.
This is
Using the B King Undisputed, singing with the power line is able to remove the Clarabelle. The problem would have been if that Clarabelle was left on the board, Marius could have shifted on turn 4 with 5 ink, and then Christoph doesn't want to sing Second Star to the Right when there's a Clarabelle on the board, right?
No, that's going to give his opponent the chance to draw just as many cards as he has, which is not great. We could see a You're Welcome coming in here to fool Christoph's plans of being able to sing Second Star to the Right, or even, and perhaps, Mother Knows Best and bounce one of these characters back to hand?
Could be, but I think right now Marius would much rather try to establish some more characters, I reckon. So we will see that Scar again, 4-cost inkable, 4-2 with Ward. Whenever one of your characters challenges a damaged character, you may draw a card. And Kim, I'm feeling this. I think we are going to see the play we've been talking about since the start here. The Second Star to the Right sung with all 3 of these characters.
I am beyond excited. I've theorized this so much. Oh my gosh! And could we see it happen? Max Goof, Powerline, and who knew the Palace Guard could all sing together? Will we see it? Being able to sing this early on, Christoph could draw 5 cards. Whatever he gets out of these 5 cards, he could ink an additional card and be able to use 4 ink to play whatever's in his hand.
I think it's very tricky, though, because Christoph's also thinking, okay, this Kida is exerted, but it is going to be the Second Star to the Right, sung by Powerline, Max Goof, and the Palace Guard. Christoph going to be able to draw 5 additional cards. This is possibly one of the earliest times I've ever seen Second Star to the Right played by a player, sung by all of these characters. But exactly what you said, it's a big reason why you play this lineup of Glimmers.
Yeah, and we did see him draw into that Mother Gothel, and the Dumbo could definitely establish either of those on the board, or even if he really wanted that Genie Wish Fulfilled is in hand, we'll be able to ink a card, we'll be able to get up to 4, could use that 4 ink in his inkwell to play this Genie Wish Fulfilled, and sure, why not? You didn't draw enough cards off Second Star to the Right. You could draw an additional card.
We do love cards in Disney Lorcana TCG. Let's see what the first ink will be. Again, I think that is the play that kind of had to be made. I do think a part of Christoph's like, this Kida is exerted, I could just simply challenge into it. So, you know, if there was a way that it could have been taken out, maybe Christoph would have preferred that, because now you kind of allow Marius to get at least 2 uses out of that Kida exert ability, right?
Yeah, and both the Kida and Scar having Ward here is going to be a bit tricky, but having those song cards like B King Undisputed, you don't have to choose them. Your opponent chooses. That bypasses the Ward ability completely.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very, very good note, Kim, within this matchup. So if all of these Ward characters are going to stay on the board, such as the Scar, such as the Kida, a couple more B Kings can be the perfect answer that Christoph needs here.
Yeah, and we also have this Bell in hand, which would be able to move damage.
It would be able to move damage,
However, both of these characters are Ward. Won't be able to be targeted by your opponent.
Yes, indeed. Very, very, very curious to see what Marius is going to set up here. Again, currently on 6 ink, can ink to 7, and we know how important that 7 ink is for these Emerald Sapphire players. They have the options of Basil, have the options of Hades, and of course, that all-important Clarabelle light on her hooves.
Yeah, and if you're Marius here, you're going to want to play that Clarabelle. You just saw your opponent do second star to the right and a genie wish fulfilled. Meaning that turn, they didn't just draw 5 cards.
6 cards.
They drew 6 cards and the card at the start of their turn.
Yeah.
They drew 7 cards that turn.
Yeah, kind of crazy. And I do agree with you. I think if there is a possibility to just play a Clarabelle here, it might be exactly what Christoph wants to see.
Yeah, but
or
just
sorry,
having,
Marius, rather.
Yeah, but just having 2 cards in hand, I believe, if one is going to have to be inkable and the other one is going to have to be Clarabelle. But if he didn't have it, that's okay, because he has Kita on the board. He's going to be able to use Kita's ability, exert her, turn her sideways, look at the top 2 cards of his deck, be able to ink one. Okay, it goes in exerted. He's not going to be able to use it, but he'll know what he is going to draw next time.
That's actually very, very valuable. Yeah, I think Kita, Kita, you tried to compare it to some of the older cards we've had, such as How Far I'll Go, which was a very, very good card. How Far I'll Go allowed you to basically do a very similar effect. Instead it goes into your hand rather than the top of your deck. You used to have Grammatala, where you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, you can put 1 into your hand and 1 at the bottom. This Kita, a little bit different, but I think that's a very, very, very great point that you make, Kim, is the value of knowing what the top card of my deck is, because I do not want to break myself. I do not want to have to draw an uninkable when I really, really need an inkable.
Okay, this the heads held high is going to help because you're targeting your opponent's characters, meaning this Palace Guard is no more because he was an illusion. And when it's targeted, bye-bye. And then we're going to see a challenge come in from Scar.
Yeah, challenge comes in from Scar. Only takes 1 damage back because, of course, that Max Goof did have -3 strength from the heads held high. So it looks like Marius maybe didn't have the best turn there. Maybe didn't have a great answer. Good follow-up card on that 7 ink. But this still not the worst. Was able to clear 2 of Christoph's characters. But we do see on Christoph's side of the board, this is a Maui Half Shark. I do believe it's only 4 ink at the moment, but this card could be coming out to play very, very soon.
Yeah, but Marius knowing that previously his opponent in the previous game, when we saw it, did a second star 1 turn into another second star to the right. And Marius being able to at least clear some of the characters on the board for his opponent does stop him drawing even more cards. But we saw a second star to the right being sung so early on. Christoph already has so many cards in his hand to play with.
I love what Christoph might be able to do here. I saw him, he was having a quick look at the Lumiere. Could opt to play the Lumiere down onto the board. That means the Genie could cleanly challenge into the Kita and then allows the Power Line to take out the Scar. Because right now, Christoph could clear off Marius's board by double challenging, but would in turn lose the Genie and the Power Line. But I think the Lumiere just helps out with a few of the breakpoints here, right?
Yeah, because Christoph here going to be on 5 ink. Not gonna choose the Lumiere. Going to play the Elsa. Didn't need to exert anything anyway if he could, because both character cards were exerted. But in this instance, I really like this play because it meant Christoph was able to clear both Glimmers off Marius's board, meaning he kept 2 characters on his board and got rid of the 2 characters on his opponent's board.
And was also able to quest, which I think is really, really important. And this board kind of sets up a very nice potential Dumbo, honestly. There's 2 evasives on the board. Dumbo could be a very, very nice follow-up card to this. So, yeah, playing the Elsa, you're establishing a pretty good body. How often are you going to be able to utilize the effect now when your board isn't as wide, right? If they start to play cards like Basil, like Hades, Elsa is kind of at its best in the early game, and then as it gets towards the late game, you kind of need the support from the big board, especially the later the game goes on against this Emerald Sapphire player. They're not really going to have small characters. They're primarily going to have quite well-statted big characters.
Yeah, and I really like the use of Dumbo after you've established evasives on the board. Being able to use Dumbo early on, not really great, because you're not able to establish evasives like the Genie and the Elsa until you have 4 or 5 ink. But being able to play the Dumbo after you've established like these 2 evasives on board, meaning you're going to be able to use Dumbo's ability and exert them, gain a lore, and also draw a card.
Indeed, yeah. A few different options available again. Could opt to play the Dumbo and just simply draw 2 cards. Could also just ink and play a Maui Half Shark. So very curious to see what's going to be done here. It looks like Dumbo is played. And yeah, this is exactly what we talked about. And huge props to Christoph for recognizing this play. Interestingly enough, actually, isn't going to use the Dumbo effect to draw some additional cards, rather valuing the Lumiere over this, which honestly, I really like this play. And do you want to know why?
Why? Tell us. Tell the Illumineers.
It is actually so important because we've talked about it last game as well. Illumineers, I keep mentioning this word, breakpoints. It changes the strength of the Genie and the Elsa to being above 2. These are now 3 strength, so if a simple Under the Sea is cast, the cards can no longer be removed.
Yeah, I love getting to see these kinds of games and these kinds of decks that nobody's expecting, and just trying to think what the players are thinking. Because I thought, oh, maybe he will trigger the Dumbo ability on the Elsa first and hoping to draw a Bee King Undisputed perhaps, because then he could sing it with the Genie.
Yeah.
But he's already ahead in board state and board control. He didn't need to do that, and I really admire Christoph for deciding, nah, I'll take my time. I will quest first.
I think it shows a sign of a great player, honestly. And I also think that line that you pointed out is also very, very interesting. I think the difference is if, and the Bee King Undisputed was found, you've kind of spoken it into existence, Kim.
It's like I summoned it, like our Lumineers here are summoning their glimmers to the board.
Absolutely amazing. Bee King Undisputed, sung by Elsa, 5th Spirit, and the Scar is banished and sent to the discard. The reason why I think they valued the Bee King originally a little bit less is because this Scar, with its 4 cost, the only song that could really be able to be sung is the You're Welcome, right?
Yes.
So if it was maybe a little bit of a bigger character like a Hades, a Clarabelle, would have really liked to see the Bee King. But like playing this Lumiere before, I cannot understate, it was very important. I think a lot of players would have just used the Dumbo effect. So I'm thoroughly impressed by Christoph's play so far.
Yeah, but being able to establish this Maui half shark on the board before he sings Bee King Undisputed meant he was going to be able to gain that additional lore. Yes, Marius playing that Basil, gonna want to bounce that Maui half shark back to the board because he knows how dangerous that is. Every time Christoph plays an action with that shark in play, he's gonna gain a lore.
It's looking like this might be Christoph's game to take right now. I can't see the Shift Mulan right now. Yeah, I think this is what's going to happen. Yeah, sure. I'm just going to simply play out my Maui Half Shark again. And Maui Half Shark, we have to mention, like, again, we've said it all weekend, like, Ruby is a little bit underrepresented within this event. However, the Half Shark is kind of difficult for Emerald Sapphire to deal with. The only real ways you can disrupt it is by bouncing it with Basil. Mother Knows Best, you also have the You're Welcome. But if you heads held high Under the Sea, it's not enough. It's 7 strength. You're only going to be able to get it down to a total of 4 strength. So it's still a very, very sticky body for Emerald Sapphire to deal with.
Yes, and Christoph going to be using Dumbo's ability first. He's going to be paying the 1. He's going to be gaining a lore and drawing a card. Going to trigger it on the Elsa as well. Did draw into another Elsa, which could potentially be used to clear off this Basil next turn if Mario just decides not to quest it with it. And then he does have another Lumiere in hand, meaning even the Genie alone, if he plays this other Lumiere, would be a 4-4, meaning that even if he's able to play the Elsa next turn and establish another Lumiere to the board, he could exert this Basil and challenge with the Genie alone.
I mean, he could challenge with the Elsa. Why
challenge with the Elsa as well? Why get rid of your Genie who has 2 lore? Challenge with the Elsa.
Especially this Elsa that already has 4 damage, right? That's like the maximum value that you can get. This Elsa now is basically a 2-1, or rather a 3-1 with the Lumiere buff. Suddenly you're going to just have this 4-1 that can very cleanly take out a Basil. That sounds quite good indeed.
Yeah, but there's also a Accomplished Mystic in hand. Could move 3 of that damage off the Elsa onto the Basil. Doesn't even need to challenge to put the extra Lumiere in play, because that means that the Basil would already have 3 damage and just needs 1 more.
Yeah, I still think I prefer the Lumiere Elsa play. You know, moving their 3 damage, sure, it might be nice, but it's not enough to cleanly be able to take out this Basil.
And being able to establish another Lumiere in play, meaning that all of your cards can't be hit by the Under the Sea.
Wow, very interesting here. But again, we actually see the use of this Olaf being able to target the Genie, play Under the Sea, and it means that a couple of cards are going to be swept to the bottom of Christoph's deck.
Yeah, not your typical card that you see in a lot of these Emerald Sapphire lists. And I really love Marcus's decision to play this in the deck, because players definitely not going to expect it. And I've talked a lot about coming into tournaments like these with spicy decks like these, because your opponent isn't going to know how to play around these moves.
This is a very, very cool play I think Christoph could make here. Could play the Elsa 5th Spirit, exert the Olaf, challenge in with the Maui Half Shark, get the Bee King back, sing the Bee King with either the Dumbo or the Elsa, and completely take out the Basil. I think right now that is the most optimal play that Christoph can make, and I'm very curious to see if they can recognize that.
Yes, I don't know if he has a Mother Gothel in hand. I believe the third card in his hand may be a Mother Gothel. If he's able to establish the Mother Gothel here and then play the Elsa and exert a character card, he would be able to move the damage with the Mother Gothel. But do you know what? He doesn't even need to do that because he has an Elsa, the 5th Spirit, and being able to use this Maui Half Shark to challenge the Olaf.
I think that's just Marius.
Bring back an item. He's going to sing Bee King Undisputed, and Marius deciding, yeah, I can't come back from this. Christoph's going to be able to quest to 20.
Absolutely insane. As we've been saying the whole time, I'm sure Baker is extremely giddy backstage.
Get Baker in the booth.
I'd love to pass it to an interview with Baker if possible.
Just to see him screaming.
Just to see him saying,
but that's...
we've made it to day 2. And I have to say, the pilot was absolutely insane. They played it perfectly, and I really liked the build as well. Like the whole idea of singing the second star to the right, super early, worked out really well. We saw the power of Maui Half Shark. It was a super powerful card, especially pre-rotation in sets 1 to 8. We saw it a lot in like the European Championship last year, and it just shows you, even though Ruby isn't played that much within this fabled meta, Maui Half Shark is still an incredibly powerful card within these Ruby decks.
Yeah, and like I have to say, like I know Baker was upset. Ruby Amethyst is not widely played a lot. There wasn't a lot represented here this weekend, but it's not gone. It's still playable. If you're able to establish a 1-drop, you're able to establish that power line and then the max goof, and then turn 4, singing the second star to the right to draw 5 cards.
Pretty good.
Absolutely insane.
It's pretty
and
good.
I just want to commend that player. He brought so much spice. But before we bring you round 10, we are going to bring you to a short little break while we get set up to bring you the next round of this Swiss before we go into top 32. Because at the end of these rounds of Swiss, we are going to be cutting all the way into top 32.
Yep, we'll see you very soon, Lumineers. Hello, Lumineers. Welcome back to the Disney Lorcana Challenge here in Bologna. We are shortly going to be bringing you round 10 of this fantastic event. I am joined by the wonderful, the amazing Rebecca Quests.
I'm so happy to be here. What a day, what a day. I'm so happy to be here in the booth with you, Kawa. That round 9, what a match.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, we saw a Ruby Amethyst player take the win.
Take the win.
As we kept saying, Baker must be absolutely like giddy
Jumping
backstage.
up and down.
Oh, yeah,
jumping up and down.
Big time, yeah. So that deck was absolutely amazing, and it was just really cool to see like Maui Half Shark back in action again, a card that was extremely powerful in the pre-rotation meta, and it really shows you know, if you can kind of make a Ruby deck work, this card is still an absolute staple for sure.
Absolutely. We do have some fun matches lined up for
I'm
you
excited.
coming into round 10. I can't wait to get into it. I know that we have an Amber Emerald deck that we're going to be looking at, and there have been a lot of those decks out there that I've seen players have. I feel like it's doing really well. I'm going to be very interested to see some meta breakdown. I know we're going to have that for you all. Everyone's probably wondering. They are working on getting that for day 2 so that we can take a look at the breakdown of the players who have made it to day 2 and see what that conversion rate is like.
Yes.
What do you think about Amber Emerald right now into this tournament?
Honestly, I think it was a very, very strong bring. The percentage was, I believe it was the 5th deck, the 5th most represented deck. And I did expect that, but I also expected the decks to be kind of within that range to kind of perform the best, because sometimes a lot of the top players or the decks that are played the most, maybe you haven't prepped enough against Amber Emerald, so maybe it can take you by surprise, if that makes sense. So I'm really excited to see it in action once again, and I think overall the deck's going to perform extremely well. Very curious to see, as you mentioned, the conversion rates from day 1 to day 2, but then also that I'm very curious to see, once we get to top 32, how many Amber Emerald make it in there.
Of course. I know that we're going to see some Blurple, that Sapphire Amethyst deck. We know that that was
plenty of that
very
around.
well represented. But again, it's that conversion rate that's going to be really, really interesting, because just because it's the most represented deck in the room doesn't mean that it is going to be the deck that makes that top cut.
100%, yeah. And we will be going into feature match 1 very, very shortly for you guys. I'm excited. You mentioned it's Amber Emerald, but you know the player quite well, right?
Yes. So Melissa Ilner is one of the players that we're going to be taking a look at in feature match 1. She is a fantastic player, and she made it to day 2, and we do know that she won round 9 this morning. So she is we got a lot of hungry players in this room, and they are focused, they are determined. There is a lot on the line here today. If you make that top 32 cut, you get an invite to the European Continental Championship. So there's 3 rounds left this morning of Swiss. Melissa, I know, is just, she is raring and ready to go. So I can't wait to watch this deck in action.
She plays the deck very well. I actually was had the pleasure of watching her play when I went over to America to cast some tournaments as well. So I'm very, very, very excited to see her play. I believe she was on stream yesterday at one stage as well, and her game was done so fast. So I was like, is the game over? She was like, yeah, I won. It was easy,
yeah.
So yeah, very experienced player on this deck. So I am very, very excited to see how well she can perform here.
Yeah, you know what's fun too about Melissa, and I know this is not just her, this is so many players in the room are huge Disney fans, right? So that is how Melissa actually got into the game. And I've had conversations with so many players that is how they got into Disney Lorcana. So Warwick Dungy is our second player over here on that Sapphire Emerald deck. We have our players now getting ready to jump into the game, looking at altering their opening hand. Of course, it's still closed deck lists right now, so they do not know what each other is playing. But what do you feel, how do you feel this matchup is going to go between that Emerald Amber deck and Sapphire Emerald?
I think Amber Emerald can come out of the gate swinging,
so strong,
very, very fast, make a very, very wide board. Maybe Warwick is going to be looking for something like a 1-cost card into a Tipo, into a Shift Baymax Under the Sea. But I think overall, Under the Sea is going to be the key card that is needed. Of course, Shift Clarabelle can help out a little bit, but if Melissa's going to be emptying her hand quite fast, maybe the Shift Clarabelle's not even going to be that good in the end, right?
Yeah, that's the thing with Amber Emerald, is it can go so fast. It can build a wide board and really get underneath this Sapphire Emerald deck. It does look like Warwick is on the play here, inking a Clarabelle and playing a Clarabelle, that shift target, that 1-2, and off to the races we go.
I actually have to say as well in this particular matchup, if Melissa is running the Emerald Chromacon, this one-cost Clarabelle is one of the few cards within the meta. I think people often forget about the ability of this Clarabelle, right? You can actually, when it comes into play, you can pay 2 ink to banish chosen item.
Yes, yeah, and that could actually come into play here if she is on Chromacon or if she's on Scrump. I'm not sure what Melissa's deck list is made of. I know there's a couple different variations. And we have that Tipo Growing Sun coming out of at all-important ramp on turn 2.
Ramp on turn 2 is extremely important within these Emerald Sapphire decks. It leads you into establishing quite a nice 4-cost card, maybe even a 3-cost Clarabelle Contented Wallflower. Therefore, there are multiple shift targets for the 7-cost Clarabelle Light on Her Hooves.
Yeah, that Lilo Escape Artist is that glittery version.
It
we
looks
have
gorgeous.
2 characters coming down here on turn 2. We have Lady and this Merryweather.
Yes, I believe Merryweather gives a little bit of a strength buff, but again, it's just a super solid card. You can go very, very wide with this Amber Emerald deck. We are going to see, okay, this might be one of my favorite plays. I do this all the time when I play Emerald Sapphire. So what we've just seen is Warwick already ramped on turn 2, but is able to play a Sail the Azurite Sea double ink to get to 5 total ink, and also play a Clarabelle Contented Wallflower. So as I mentioned, you have these 2 shift targets now, but suddenly you've ramped twice. So even if there's something like a John Silver follow-up against something like Amber Emerald, it's going to be very, very strong here.
Yep, having those shift targets, and that means that if one Clarabelle goes, he still has the other one there for that shift. Oh, Ursula coming down, getting rid of that Under the Sea. Ursula Deceiver, a fantastic card. When you play this 2-cost character, you get to look at your player's hand and discard a non-character card of your, or song card of your choice, and Under the Sea may go.
That was so crucial. I can't believe that, honestly.
Oh, and there's that shift Clarabelle. We were 1 turn away from him being able to play that. That would have decimated Melissa's side of the board.
Absolutely crazy. I think it's like I have to say props to Melissa for kind of recognizing, okay,
heads up play.
Getting into the shift line play. If the exact 2 cards in hand are these, I need to establish the Ursula to potentially get rid of that Under the Sea removal card.
So instrumental here to keeping her board control. She has such a wide board. I know we've talked about this across the stream, that now that Be Prepared is out of the picture, you can see these boards getting really wide, staying there, setting up. She hasn't quested at all yet, still sitting at 0, but she doesn't have to worry about that Under the Sea now as well, so she is sitting pretty, playing out that Lilo from her discard.
Indeed, yeah. Now, I did see one of the cards picked up by Warwick. It's going to be a Shift Baymax, Universal Shift Baymax, so that might help out with a little bit of challenging when it comes into tackling Melissa's board. But Melissa can go extremely wide here.
With that Tramp coming down, the 7 costs, but you play 1 less for each character that you have in play.
This is actually the 2 cost, but now this is the 7 cost. Yes,
excuse me.
Yes, it's the enchanted one. So this Tramp is the one that you're able to buff a character strength by however many characters you have on the board. But yes, this 7 cost dual ink Tramp, I have to say, in my opinion, is one of the best cards within this Amber Emerald deck. Super great. You're able to draw many cards, and you get to kind of fuel your discard. It synergizes really well with the Lilo Escape Artist too, right?
Melissa going through all these cards, figuring out what she wants to put into the discard.
Oh my God!
Why not?
Absolutely amazing. Let's play a free 2/6 that quest for 2. Why not, indeed? That's amazing.
That is incredible. Now we're questing. This game is swinging fast here for Melissa, going from 0 all the way to 6.
Okay, so what is picked up here? I can see another Shift Clarabelle.
Again, that giant robot is in his hand as well.
Yep. Yeah, I do believe like if somehow Warwick had another shift line available and an Under the Sea, yes, would be able to clear Melissa's board, but only has access to the shift line currently. Warwick is really going to need to start digging for another copy of Under the Sea. And the interesting thing here is Warwick does feel like they need to challenge because Melissa's representing a lot of lore on the board, but all Melissa has to do in response is, okay, I can quest a little bit, but as long as I take out this Baymax, or maybe alone just take out the 3-cost Clarabelle, then singing Under the Sea is no longer possible, and I can just keep questing with the rest of my characters to win the game.
Interesting. We have that Shift Clarabelle going into the Inkwell on Warwick's side. I do see that that one card that he has left in hand is the John Silver, Alien Pirate. So him valuing...
Yeah, valuing the card because it's pretty good against a lot of these aggressive decks with that reckless ability. But I think, honestly, at this stage, Melissa's board is so wide, and she is doing a fantastic job keeping up the pressure for Warwick. Warwick really needs to deal with this big board. And as I said, I think Melissa... Yes, I think this is a fantastic play by her here.
We need a top deck Under the Sea on Warwick's side, I think. Is there any other way he can get out of this right now?
I don't think so. And this is the thing. It's a huge play by Melissa, recognizing we do need to take out the 3-cost Clarabelle, because if it's not taken out, then the top deck Under the Sea could be utilized. But right now, even if Warwick finds it, it can't be played.
Can't be played.
Yep. Super, super interesting here. I do actually have to give a shout out though to Warwick. He's a very, very good player. We did see him at the recent Cardiff CCQ last weekend, was also featured on stream. So two very, very strong players here. But Warwick decides to scoop, say, yeah, I cannot come back from this game.
I cannot. Warwick was on the play this game, so Melissa able to take the win on the draw, which is huge for her.
Huge, yes.
And it's going to go to game 2, I think, especially because, of course, these rounds are timed. Warwick said, let's call this a game and get into game 2 so I have as much time as possible to come back from this.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's very, very important for time management. Usually, sometimes it's a little less important in the aggro matchups, but it's more important to recognize, yep, I just cannot win this game. Like, even playing out an extra 5-10 minutes, that could be time that you actually need in your other games, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've talked to players where if they've done that, oh, maybe I can come back just 1 or 2 more turns, and then they weren't able to, but then they lost that time and weren't able to, have the time that they needed to get the win in the end. Now that the players know what each other is playing, especially for Warwick, what do you think he's looking for into his first opening line of play?
I believe that what Warwick's going to be looking for is that Under the Sea as early as possible. But again, Melissa has the answer in the form of the Ursula Deceiver. So again, I really have to say, I've been thoroughly impressed by Melissa throughout that entire game, recognizing the perfect turn to play the Ursula, but then also towards the end, not letting Warwick play to their outs. If he was able to find that Under the Sea, that was the only way they were coming back from the game. So Melissa, clearly an extremely experienced pilot of Amber Emerald.
Yep, players opening their altering hands now for game 2. Melissa putting back just 2.
Okay.
I didn't see how many Warwick altered in his opening hand, but I know that he's
looking for ramp.
Looking for that ramp.
Yeah, usually ramp is the most important thing. But as you mentioned, yes, now that he knows this is an Amber Emerald matchup, could really be aggressively altering for the Universal Shift Baymax alongside an Under the Sea, but it's also so tricky knowing that Melissa has that disruption available too.
Yeah, and on these decks, the Sapphire decks with that ramp, so important. It's really spending those first few turns setting up for your larger characters and cards that you want to bring out, which leaves so much room for Melissa to just come underneath that deck. And it's, not a great matchup, I think, here for Warwick. So he's going to have to work hard to keep Melissa on the back foot.
Basically, yeah, he needs to have the perfect cards available. And it's not even so similar to the Amber Steel matchup against Emerald Sapphire. What ends up happening is, they don't have access to disruption tools like this 2-cost Ursula, so it's a very, very different game. But a huge shout out, this Pluto coming down with the good boy ability. You can exert him to pay 1 less for the next character you play this turn. And honestly, I've been thoroughly impressed. I've seen a lot of players messing around with this Pluto, and he's really, really impressed me.
I love Pluto. He is an uninkable card, so you do have to be a little careful there with balancing your uninkable cards with your inkable cards, but a really fantastic ability. And I'm going to be so interested here to see, what do we bring down, Melissa? We're going to exert 1 to play a Lady.
Lady comes down.
That Lewis, we haven't seen him come and play yet, but
haven't seen Lewis. I think Lewis is very good in some other matchups for sure, so it makes sense to put into the Inkwell. Going to play the other uninkable Lady here, and very, very smart here from Melissa, valuing protecting that Pluto, does not want to exert it because Warwick could have used their Clarabelle and their Bobby to challenge in and banish that Pluto.
Yes, Pluto, of course, having 0 strength, and so Warwick could have safely taken out Pluto and kept his characters on the board. And so a very, very good call there from Melissa to keep him ready. And to, I mean, I think it's when do I turn my cards sideways for her. It's I don't have to quest every turn. I can set up and choose the right moment. And that's what we saw last game from her.
Indeed, yeah. And we see the Pleakley come down here. Very, very nice from Warwick. Pleakley is a card that's not played in every Emerald Sapphire deck, but it works quite well. The more one-cost cards you place, we've seen the Bobby, we've seen the Clarabelle, and it's just another tool to ramp quite efficiently. So I'd be very, very curious. We can see that Warwick has 1 card left in hand. If that's something like a John Silver, that could give Melissa a little bit of trouble next turn.
Yeah, Pleakley also a 3/4 character, so
good
really great stat line. And you know, he put Bobby Zimmerowski into his Inkwell, so not only do you get your ramp, but it's like I would much rather have a 3/4 character on the board than this little guy. So yeah, really great stat lines there, and he's. I love
He's a fun guy. Pleakley's a very fun character. Yeah. So we do see this 2-cost tramp come down. It actually costs 1 because there is a lady on the board currently.
Exerting our Pluto to get that ability, it looks like. So, are we doing tramp?
We are. I'm telling you, this card is the centerpiece of these Amber Emerald decks. It's so strong.
So normally it would cost 7, but there was 4 characters on board, and using Pluto's ability, so she only had to pay 2 ink to put this tramp out on the board.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, and this card is just so strong at filtering for like the perfect cards that you need to kind of close out the game, right? For example, if you're in like a mirror match and you need something like an Under the Sea to answer their board, or maybe you need that little bit of gas. I mean, we just saw, right? Maybe playing tramp into finding another tramp, into finding, and then suddenly you're playing these 2/6s just for free because you have so many characters on the board.
This is a fun game to watch for everyone joining us. We're here at the DLC in Bologna. This is round 10, and we are in game 2. Melissa took game 1, and Warwick now playing that Vision of the Future. You get to look through 5 cards, and he only has 1 card in hand, so I know he is really looking for some answers to Melissa's side of the board here. What do you think he's looking for?
It's a couple of different things. I did see John Silver was one of the options available, but unfortunately currently only at 4 ink, so even if they ink the card in hand, does not have enough ink available to play the John Silver. Maybe something like a Shift Clarabelle could be okay here. Could ink for 5 Shift Clarabelle, use that to take out one of Melissa's opposing characters, and then the Pleakley could also challenge. Unfortunately, it's the Donald Duck. Not really what Warwick wants to see here, but at the same time, maybe Warwick wants to play this and say, you know what, I'm maybe recognizing, again, my only out is Under the Sea. I need as many cards as possible to try and find it.
Yeah. What do you think, though, about... So his ability here is that each player will get to draw a card, which is feeding Melissa more characters.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's puts Warwick in the best position to be giving her more characters.
Yes, it's very tricky. Okay, the Ursula comes down. It's not...
He has a Hades in hand.
Hades in hand, indeed, yeah. The thing about the Donald Duck, you actually make a very, very fantastic point, because a lot of the time this Donald Duck's really weird when you're against such an aggressive deck, because, like you said, you don't want to give them more cards, more characters to play around with, but sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, and you really need to just find that Under the Sea yourself, because as the board gets wider and wider, all of these characters, they are still only 2 strength or less. So as long as you find the Under the Sea, at least it deals with the current characters on board.
Yep. Warwick has 6 ink right now, so hopefully he will get an inkable card there. He can maybe play the Hades. If he does, what's the target here?
Very, very, very good question. What is the target indeed? Probably something that quests for 2. I'm going to suspect it's this tramp. It's just a 2/6. It's so big. And then that means that they still have the option to use like the Donald and the Pleakley to take out the 2-cost tramp and that 1-cost lady.
Yeah, heads held high going into the Inkwell, and we are playing that Hades, and like you said, you were exactly right. It's that tramp saying, sorry, you can go into the Inkwell. Yeah, the other amazing thing here is Melissa is still sitting, she was on just 3 ink, and that tramp made it her 4th ink.
Yep.
This deck is doing a lot on very limited resources.
For sure, yeah. I've seen some games of Emerald Amber where they kind of sit at 4 ink, and sometimes they just go, like, they just keep replaying Lilo, keep applying the pressure, and sometimes they can close out games like that. And the biggest reason why is because of these 7 cost tramps. They get reduced so much that you actually don't need that much ink. Usually this deck it might even cap out at 4 or 5 ink, and that's all you need.
Yes, yes.
Yep. So on Melissa's side right now, we do see, I believe that was a Lady Miss Park Avenue, I want to say. Oh, actually, it could be another 7 cost tramp,
I think it might be that 7 cost tramp. We are replaying Lilo from the discard. Oh, she might do that.
Yeah, so...
Is it that tramp?
It could be. It is the tramp in hand, so
she could use
ink.
the 2 ink.
Yes.
If she uses Pluto's ability.
Use Pluto, exactly. Yes, yes,
okay,
yes.
it's a Bobby Zimmerowski, so it must not be that tramp.
And another very key card picked up here from Melissa, the Go-Go Tamago Darting Dynamo with the Stop Whining Woman Up ability.
She played that Bobby Zimmerowski, and then tramp coming down again. MVP of this Amber Emerald deck,
100%.
truly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we also get to see, we've seen the Pluto in action so much this game, right? Pluto putting in some work right here.
Pluto has been here since turn 1, and I think that one of the reasons is that Melissa has turned him sideways at key moments, and so he's been able to stay on the board. I know that Warwick was wanting to get rid of some of those higher lore characters, and questing again here, Melissa just with a huge lore lead.
Yeah, so Warwick triggering the Donald Duck ability.
Another
can get to another Hades in hand. Yeah, the cards that Warwick's kind of looking for, of course, we want the Under the Sea, but maybe something like a Vision of the Future could be the card to find the Under the Sea. But right now, might only have the option to just play another Hades Infernal Schemer, and Melissa is very, very quickly building up that lore advantage. It's currently 13-1. She's representing a total of, let's have a quick, 9. Oh
lore
my
is
God.
on board. I was just counting, and that, I mean, this is game here unless Warwick can do something. Of course, he does have some characters like that Pleakley and Hades who could take some characters off the board, but he's thinking, what is the right move here?
I think if there is another Hades available, it sounds a little bit crazy, but you know what card it might be? It might be this Lilo. Oh, it's an enchanted Hades as well.
Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, great. I cannot tell you how many players I've talked to that are just incredibly happy to see that Hades Infernal Schemer getting the enchanted treatment. It's a card that has been a fan favorite since the first chapter, and I think we are all very happy to see it come back into the game with that fabulous alternate art.
Yes, so, yes, I was going to say, I think a card that, it seems a little bit weird, but Hades could also potentially send a Lilo to the Inkwell, and the reason why you would want to do that is that turns off Lilo's ability to keep returning from the discard pile. However, I think in this situation, it made sense to get rid of the 7-cost tramp, because in this particular situation, Warwick left the Lilo on board, so there's no risk of like it being in the discard and kind of being replayed right now, if that makes sense.
It does. It does feel like a shift in the game here, though. What do you think now, Melissa?
Oh, Go Tamago gaining 2 lore off of its on-play ability. That means Melissa's going to go up to a total of, I believe,
18?
like 18, 17, 18?
Yep,
18,
she will be at 18 here. She does have Go representing 1, so even if Warwick is able to take care of Bobby and...
And a Daisy.
And a Daisy.
Oh my God! It still looks like it's Under the Sea or Bust here right now.
This is Under the Sea.
Yeah.
And
2 cards drawn. I think one was a Vision. I might be wrong. I think one card is a Vision of the Future.
Yes, you're right. There, we're playing that. We get to look for 5 cards. Do we find Under the Sea here? This is the moment for Warwick.
5. It's just okay. Sail. So Sail could be played to draw another card.
We could look at one more.
Whew.
He is looking what is in his hand.
He is digging very deep right now.
Which Sapphire's great at doing that. Sapphire can dig through your deck so well, filter through those cards, help you find the answer. But Under the Sea is the answer that he needs right now.
Indeed, yes. I wonder if there's any other card draw options as well as Sail the Azurite Sea in the hand. It looks like it will. It's another vision. Absolutely huge.
Yes.
You went Under the Sea. He got it. He got it. No way.
Okay.
Whew.
Wow.
Oh my God, what a tense situation. Found the card that he needed.
Melissa probably knows it. I can see the look on her face. She's like, he found it. Going through 10 cards. 10 cards down in his deck. Found that under the sea. We had only seen one so far this game. So this is going to be a nice little turning point here. It looks like Warwick is doing some questing. No, we're singing.
Yes.
We're singing.
Under the Sea
All
with
of
the
them.
Clarabelle and the Hades. Yeah, this is very important as well because, like I mentioned, sending Lilo to the Inkwell, putting Lilo at the bottom of the deck also turns that ability off from the discard pile. However, Melissa does have a very important out here. All she needs to do right now to just win the game on the spot is top deck another Go-Go.
Go-Go would do it.
Yep.
Go-Go would be the go-ahead card. She has 2 cards in hand.
Yeah, Warwick still has a mountain to climb. Currently only on 1 lore to 18. Wants to make this board as wide as possible. Let's see what Melissa can do here.
Wow. Being able to pull another vision off the vision was huge.
Huge, absolutely huge. Yep.
We are finally getting in some questing here.
Yep.
He's been sitting at 0, going up to 6. Melissa at 18 lore. She has her own Under the Sea.
Wait, is there a Go-Go in the discard pile? If there's a Go-Go, I did just see that the 5-cost Lady Miss Park Avenue was picked up. So if that's played at least next turn, right? At least next turn, I'm not too sure. I think one might have been sent to the discard. There is one.
Yep, there is one.
Oh my word.
Oh,
so just going to have a look through the different 1 and 2 cost card options. I'm going to have a quick count of Warwick's lore here, because that's very important. I don't believe there's enough lore represented on the board to represent game at the moment. There's 9 on board, would bring him up to a total of 15. So there's 1 out here for Warwick, I think. There's only 1 out, and that card, in my opinion, is Bend to My Will to discard.
Yes.
To discard the Go-Go. I think that might literally be it.
The only answer.
Yep. Because if not, Warwick would have to somehow like bounce at least this Pleakley and this Hades to remove the cards that have damage on them.
I really think as much as that Donald Duck has helped Warwick, I think it has also helped Melissa being able to play that Lady Miss Park Avenue. That was huge, bringing that Go-Go back. And we're counting up our ink here.
Yeah, I can't see much else besides the Bend to My Will. I'm not even sure if it's played in the deck, because I know there are a couple of Emerald Sapphire decks that aren't playing it, right? It's usually 1 copy.
One copy.
I mean, we also didn't get a lot of a close look at the Vision of the Futures. It could have been bottomed with the Vision, right?
Yes. We have Bobby Zimmerski looking. That's another Under the Sea, which will not help here against this lady.
Yeah, just has to discard that Donald Duck. We got the Under the Sea when we don't need it at the moment.
We don't need it. Yeah, he needed it earlier, but oh man.
I don't know what else can be. I mean, some crazy stuff like sing your welcome on both the Pleakley and the Hades, and then also try to remove the Lady. Okay.
Okay, so he brought that Hades back, but he doesn't.
Can't do anything about the Pleakley, right?
That's
the game. Oh,
that is game,
word.
And that is match. Melissa taking the win there with that fabulous play of Amber Emerald, that Tramp MVP of that deck. That was a fabulous match. Congratulations to Melissa. Well played by Warwick. I mean, he was looking for the answers, but he couldn't find them.
Yeah, what a fantastic game. And yeah, again, huge props to Warwick as well. Really searched the deck, tried to find the answers. But Melissa also played to her outs, played extremely, extremely well. I'm really looking forward to see if she makes it into top 32. She's absolutely crushing it at the moment. And I do know very shortly we should also be going to a feature match 2 as well, where there's another extremely strong female player, Atlantis Ray, excuse me. I'm not too sure. I know last weekend they were on their Amethyst Sapphire deck. Blurple played extremely well in the Cardiff CCQ, but could also be on the Emerald Amethyst deck, because I know they're a big fan of that deck too.
Okay, now Emerald Amethyst is a deck that it was not hugely, represented, but it is here, and I think that deck has surprised a lot of people with how well it's doing. And so speaking of what's in the room, we do finally have that meta breakdown for you. I'm so excited to see what we have here on day 2. So let's go over to Baker and Kim, who are gonna give us that breakdown.
Hello and welcome back to the Disney Lorcana Challenge here in the beautiful Bologna, Italy. I'm joined by the wonderful Kim. And Kim, what a game that was. I must admit, I missed game one. The Infinity event has started across the hall, so I had to wander over and have a look, see what sort of decks were doing. I was meeting some of the community, got back here, managed to catch game two, and wow, it's so great to see Melissa taking a 2-0 there. What a fantastic run from her. This is someone that I know quite well. She's a wonderful person, a wonderful part of the community, and quite frankly, one of the best players in the trading card game. So super happy to see Melissa do well there. How are you doing, Kim? Are you having a good day too?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm so excited for Melissa. Not to mention, she's not from Europe. She traveled all the way from overseas here, and just fair play to her. Like, doing so amazing. Did super well last week, I believe, in Stockholm. She got top 32.
Absolutely.
And just bringing that dog's deck, the underdog deck, and she's doing it for the Lady in the Tramp.
And hey, like, she's been like, she was going to be playing Lady in the Tramp whether it was good or not. I know Melissa is a huge Lady in the Tramp fan. She's a huge Disney fan in general. I'm always seeing her post pictures at various Disney events, and she's always trying to collect all the merchandise, whether it's Lorcana or Disney. So she's a wonderful person. So great to see her performing well. Again, very good. Like, this is not a one-off. Melissa has been performing extremely well since the inception of the Lorcana trading card game. And it's great as well because just around the corner, we've got another wonderful lady playing Lorcana. We've got the lovely Atlantis, or Atlantine is her gamer tag, also performing really, really well. We absolutely love to see it, but I'm sure that you guys at home are thinking, hey, we had the day one meta breakdown. We know what the breakdown was for the entirety of the room. What does it look like in day two? You obviously needed those 18 points to progress into day two, going into 4 more rounds of Swiss before the top cut. So this is not top cut. This is day two overall, 285 Illumineers. And Kim, I want to get your first reactions and impressions to this meta breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. All Illumineers here this weekend who competing in 8 rounds of Swiss yesterday. They're going to have to play 4 more rounds today in a total.
Long weekend.
And it is such a long day. Fair play to everyone. They're performing amazing, and the sportsmanship out there on the floor is absolutely phenomenal. Amethyst Sapphire still on top. Are you surprised, Baker? I'm not surprised.
I'm flabbergasted, quite frankly. That's a lie. I am not at all. Once again, as was the pattern with day one, the overall metagame, Amethyst Sapphire, affectionately known as Blurple to the Lorcana community, almost twice as many as the second place deck list, which, again, we're seeing a pattern here, Amber Steel.
Yes, Amber Steel, still represented as the second most common deck here. Emerald Sapphire taking that 3rd spot. Amethyst Steel, we seeing quite a few of that, and there's that underdog deck, the 5th most represented in the room. I'm super excited to see it, and I know Melissa is. You've got so many of those shiny enchanted cards. You have to play your blinging.
There's a lot of pretty ladies and tramps out there, but
yes,
hey, dogs seem to be like quite a wise meta pick. It has a good matchup into Blurple. Again, players like Melissa performing really well with it. Zach Bivens was also on that deck, and we know that he's a man that likes to stay 2 steps ahead of the meta. And again, various big names. I think Zan as well might have been on. I'll have to double check that, but a lot of big names in the room playing that dog deck. So not a huge surprise to see it the 5th most represented deck. Also, Emerald Steel with 6 players. I feel like I have to give a shout out. We've done this a couple of times this weekend, but to Steve, otherwise known as Lorcana Decklist, who won the London Content Creator Set Championship recently with an Emerald Steel tempo list. Obviously, Emerald Steel in the past has been a discard deck, which I absolutely despise, but now it's playing a much fairer game, in my opinion. It's very battle-oriented, challenge-oriented, a very tempo list. We saw LD's deck playing that Max Goof, like putting a spotlight on some cards from the new set Fabled, and it seems like some players have the same sort of idea, with 6 making it to day 2. Let's look a little further, Kim.
Yes, Amethyst Emerald coming in. 3 players left. We saw previously David, round 1. Unfortunately, he did lose. But we really saw the power of that dual ink Cusco being able to. It's like a common. I talked about this to Kawa, and I was like, it's a bit of a combination of Under the Sea and You're Welcome, being able to get rid of the opposing character card on the board, sending that Glimmer back into the deck, drawing a Glimmer back into the card, but pairing up with other cards like Clarabelle, giving your opponent more cards. giving your opponent more cards in their hand, teaming up with those cards like Clarabelle, and then you can draw just as many cards as your opponent.
Exactly, and when you're on triple bend to my will, like we saw Justice playing in the final match yesterday, it doesn't really matter if you're giving your opponent a bunch of cards. Amethyst Chromacon, sure, draw. You're welcome, sure, draw. Even the Kuzco, which has an extra ability after you bounce a character to back to the bottom of the deck, they get to draw a card. But again, if you're playing triple bends, sure, draw as much as you want. You ain't keeping them, mate. So it's really cool to see Emerald Amethyst well represented. But the in combination that I'm very excited that we have, was it 2 or 3?
There was 2.
There was 2.
And
so
I know
2 brave soldiers out there did bring that Ruby Amethyst in combination. And Kim, I know you got to cast the last match. Tell me about it. I want to hear.
I did, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Ruby Amethyst, it's not gone.
No,
it's not gone. And if you, I don't believe you caught it, but if you've seen the immense power of this deck, is amazing, phenomenal against a deck, and I believe they were against Emerald Sapphire.
Okay.
So you got to be scared of the heads held high under the sea. But playing cards like this power line, this Max Goof, I'll lay the groundwork. I'm gonna set the scene of what happened.
I want to
Turn
feel
1. Palace Guard was played.
I see it.
Turn 2, Powerline. Turn 3, Max Goof. Meaning turn 4, we saw a Sing Together second star to the right. Meaning they drew not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 cards. But being able to Sing Together the second star to the right meant they were able to ink an additional card. So not only did they draw 5 cards off second star to the right, they played Genie Wish Fulfilled, meaning they drew 6 cards.
That is pretty incredible. And again, these singers, Ruby having a bit of an identity crisis lately, turning into singers, but it seems that some players are cracking the code. Again, I did build the singer variant of Ruby Amethyst. I, of course, had to take it for a test run. Didn't do so well against Rebecca's Amber Steel deck yesterday, but I've had a few games of it. Like, I can see it's similar to decks we've talked about before, like Sapphire Steel, Emerald Amethyst, and even Ruby Steel, where sure, there's a deck there. Like you can see some really interesting lines, and absolutely, if it high rolls and quote unquote does the thing, it's very good. It just doesn't seem to have the consistency and the regular power level of these things like Blurple, Amethyst Sapphire, and of course Emerald Sapphire as well. But some Illumineers saying no. I think there's potential here, especially if you're looking to counter a specific meta. So that sounds amazing. And don't forget those singers. Like the Max Goof is a 4-3. The power line is a 3-2. This is like 3-2s maybe a little low in willpower, but the 3 strength, you're probably trading or whatever kind of comes into you. The Max Goof hitting for 4 is very relevant for cards like Daisy and Tiana, if you can then like pay the tax and things like that. So I am so excited. I will be interested to see if the other Ruby Amethyst, how the other Ruby Amethyst player did. But I would, I would be so happy to see at least one red-purple player in top 32. I guarantee you, I will immediately be rooting for them. Friends, be banished. I'm rooting for the red-purple.
It was absolutely phenomenal. And not to forget, when you're coming into a room, you know there's a lot of Emerald. You know there's a lot of Under the Sea. And that is kind of the only wide board clear we have. Teaming up with these Ruby cards like Lumiere, at one point in the game, there was 2 Lumieres on the board, meaning this Genie, which is a 2-4, had 2 extra strength because Lumiere, if you don't know at home, gives 1 extra strength to all your other characters on board. Meaning this Genie, at one point in the game, was a 4-4. There was a Niago on the board, which is a 4-6, was a 6-6.
And not to mention, if you've got double Lumiere on board, they're both boosting each other, so they stay out of that under the sea range. Of course, you're probably going to cry if you see a heads held high, but still, like, you make them need that many more pieces of the puzzle, right? Just the undersea isn't necessarily enough. Again, as you say, Genies are a prime target to be swept under the deck. So I think this is a really nice meta breakdown against some Sapphire Steel decks making it through, so to day 2 as well. So I can't wait to see the top cut. We've got a couple more rounds to go. Let us know in chat what you want to see in top cut. We're keeping an eye on the chat. We've got production here keeping an eye on chat. Let us know, like, what would you like to see featured if it makes it through to top cut. But yeah, it's been a super exciting weekend of Disney Lorcana. We've got plenty more action. We're going to throw it back to the casters, who I'm sure have got lots to say. We'll see you soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to be going into feature match 2 very, very shortly. I believe this is going to be Atlantis Ray that I was speaking about previously. Again, curious to see if they're going to be on Blurple, or we did just see the meta game breakdown. I believe it was 3 Emerald Amethyst. I think at this stage, if it's the 3, I might know all of the players who are on it. So if Atlantis is on this deck, I know it was Justice from the UK, it was David from the UK, and it might also be Atlantis. But as we can see, she is on her Blurple deck, her Sapphire Amethyst deck from the Cardiff CCQ that she brought last weekend.
And it looks like that Sapphire Amethyst deck is doing her very well. 7-2 record here going into round 10. On the other side, we have Killian Michael Bohm on another Amber Emerald deck. Now, this matchup, I don't know, can the Amber Emerald deck get underneath the Blurple deck the same way it did that we saw in the last match against Emerald, excuse me, the the Emerald Sapphire deck?
Yes. It's a great question. I think the matchup is very different, in my opinion. A card we've just been discussing is the Emerald Chromacon. I think that's really going to help out against the Blurple deck. However, this Sapphire Amethyst deck has a lot of answers to the Chroma Dogs deck, as it's known, in the form of like Into the Unknown, Hades, Elsa. But some of the more important cards, in my opinion, is, of course, the 8-cost Elsa, Spirit of Winter. As you get into the late game, that can be used to kind of freeze the board, if you will, freeze a couple of characters, stop them from readying at the start of Killian's turn. But also, I know a card that Atlantis is very, very fond of is They Never Come Back.
They Never Come Back. That's a great card. You can bounce 2 characters back to hand, and it's an action card. And it's one that doesn't see a whole lot of play, but it's a really great addition to this deck, I think.
Yeah, so the card is, it's actually you stop 2 characters from readying at the start of your opponent's turn. No worries at all. It's you also draw a card, which is very, very important. Not only that, it's very good against the aggro decks, but also something to keep in mind. It's not going to be very relevant within this matchup, but it also works against illusions, right?
Yes. Which is not, of course, in this deck, but a great card to have, because when you're in a room of 2,000 players,
there's a lot of Blurple mirrors and stuff, right?
Yes, you want to be ready to face everything. And I know that the players, especially at this level, are doing so much play testing, so much testing against these different decks. But this matchup is going to be really fun to see how it plays out. Is it that Chroma Dogs, like you said?
Let's see. As you've been saying, there's so many different versions of this Amber Emerald deck, and starting us off strong with a Daisy Duck Donald's Date right here for Killian.
I love Daisy. This has been a favorite card, I know, of Amber players everywhere since she came out in the Shimmering Skies set. Develop your brain going into the Inkwell for Atlantis and playing a Rafiki.
Yes, Rafiki. There's a little bit of a debate over what 1-cost cards are best to play within Blurple. You've got like the Rafiki, you've got the Royal Guard, you've also got Basil. Basil, in my opinion, is an absolute staple. It should always be in Blurple decks. But the decision between Rafiki and Royal Guard, to me, it's quite interesting. In my opinion, I think if you play a lot of these draw effects, such as Finders Keepers, we see the Dumbo out of the hand, that's also a draw effect. But if you have something like a second star to the right and you have a Royal Guard, suddenly your Royal Guard could have Challenger +5 and swing into something very, very large. So, but honestly, I like to see a little bit of a split. I think the Rafiki's also extremely strong because you guarantee that you have that Challenger +3.
Yes, I'm a Rafiki believer. I would choose Rafiki over the Royal Guard, but I see the value of both, and I think a split can be very, very good.
Yep, for sure.
And we did see, of course, that Daisy Duck's trigger, when she quests, your opponent gets to look at the top card of your deck, and if it is not a character, it goes to the bottom of your deck. But Atlantis getting a Dumbo, which I'm sure she said, thank you very much. I will take that Dumbo in hand.
Indeed, yeah. Now, we do know that these Amber Emerald decks can have an explosive start, come onto the board very, very, very strong. And right now, against this Daisy Duck, if there's a potential Hypnotic Strength, you would be able to take it out. However, it's not really what Sapphire Amethyst wants to do. Right, it's turn 2, you want to be ramping. You want to be playing Sail, you want to be playing Tipo. And I do believe I saw a Sail, the Azurite Sea, in the hand of Atlantis. However, maybe in this deck, You could also opt to do some other things, but we could see sale, and we could even see another 1-drop established if there's one available to play. And a Rafiki has just been picked up.
Of sale. That's really great. I do unfortunately see a couple of really high-cost uninkable cards in her hand. There's an Elsa and second star to the right. That's some 2 big uninkable cards to have here at the beginning of the game. Those are cards that you want to see later. And she looks like she has that Basil and Rafiki in hand.
So that's actually a fantastic point that you bring up, Rebecca, because while establishing another 1-drop here is very, very important, if your hand is quite heavy on uninkables, you might have to say, you know what, I can't play these 1-drops and just save them as ink. But Atlantis here is going to value the Rafiki, which I definitely respect. But it's a very, very valid point, because right now we can see the Genie, we can see the second star, and the Elsa. If a couple more uninkables are drawn, it could start to get a little bit rough for her.
Yeah, I think with the Sapphire Amethyst deck, you want to get to the high ink as quickly as possible. Once you get into the later game for this deck, it has such the most powerful decks in Disney Lorcana TCG.
Indeed, yes. So Killian, there's a few different options available. Currently sitting on 2 ink. There is an Under the Sea in the discard, so something like a Shift Lady isn't going to do too much right now, won't be getting anything back, is going to decide to play the Clarabelle Contented Wallflower here instead. And this is another example. Like, there's so many variations. Like, this, if this Clarabelle's in the deck, to me, I assume that the Shift Clarabelle's in it, right?
And I'm wondering if he may have that Shift Clarabelle in hand even, so establishing that Clarabelle now to make sure that he can keep his hand full. Atlantis is sitting over there with a lot of cards. Of course, Amethyst, Sapphire loves to draw cards, and so if he can get that Shift Clarabelle down, that would be huge for him.
Yeah, Monstro is the card that has just been drawn for Atlantis, making its way into the inkwell. 4 ink available, Genie, Wish Fulfilled, Atlantis able to draw an additional card. It was another Monstro, wow. It's kind of, again, if the hand is a little bit full of uninkables, might have to ink a couple of these Monstros, and you might kind of want to keep them towards the late game, right? It's very, very tricky.
She does also, I think I saw an Into the Unknown.
I believe
in her
so,
hand
yes,
as well.
I believe so, yeah. That can be very crucial. I think, honestly, especially if we do see something like a Shift Clarabelle, I'm then curious to see if Killian will recognize, okay, if I Shift Clarabelle, do I exert this? Do I keep this safe?
Yeah.
In the case of this current board, there are 2 Rafikis on board, so that could challenge you into an exerted Shift of Clarabelle. But this 7-cost Tramp Street Smart Dog comes down, and yeah, this is like the perfect filtering tool, able to build up quite a wide board. And this Sapphire Amethyst deck, unlike Emerald Sapphire, does not have access to this Under the Sea board wipe. So Killian's goal right now is to make the board as wide as possible.
In the Sapphire Amethyst deck, because we don't have Under the Sea, I know that we have Monstro that can do a lot of work, but between now and the point when she could get Monstro out, what is she looking for?
Yeah, a couple of different options. Kind of in the mid-game, Elsa's probably the best thing. Even if Killian decides to quest with everything, at least Elsa's just an extra rush character. Few other different things. You could have like Hypnotic Strength to buff up some other characters. It's actually why the Basil is so important as well, because that allows you to buff up a lot of your other evasive cards. Killian just showing Atlantis the cards there, opting to discard with the Tramp effect. But yeah, in this mid-game, it definitely gets tricky. Also, cards like Belle, the Accomplished Mystic, can be quite good. But that's also kind of tricky to utilize against Amber Emerald, because a lot of the characters have such low strengths. You're not going to have enough damage being put onto your own characters to manipulate with Belle. From what I can see, there is an Into the Unknown. There's another Monstro. A couple of options. And of course, we still have that second star in the Elsa, yes.
That does feel bad. Oh, there's that Belle, which playing her without using her ability does feel kind of bad, but she does have now a 4/4 character on board, so, and those Rafiki. So when Killian does decide to turn some of these cards sideways to quest, she has some really great characters here to do some challenges. 100%,
yes. This Belle is going to be very great into this Daisy Duck Donald's Day, can cleanly make the challenge there. This is actually kind of an interesting example. A card that's not included within these Sapphire Amethyst decks is the Madame Mim Tiny Adversary, but you can see, like, at least in this board state, it's rare that you have so many 1-drops, but giving something Challenger +1, as we saw in a lot of the Amethyst Steel builds, is really important to change a lot of these cards that have 3 strength, to give them 4 strength to take out cards like this Daisy Duck.
Now, that was an improvise that was just played. That is a 1-cost action. And you give a character extra strength and you draw a card. So I don't think he was too worried about the extra strength that he just gave his lady. But getting an extra card there to dig for some more answers, I guess. I feel like Killian is wanting to quest, but he knows that Atlantis is keeping him in check with her board over there.
Indeed, yeah. And I do think it's actually important, the specific card chosen with the improvise. Usually it doesn't matter, but for this lady, I believe if it has 3 strength or more, it gets an extra lore. So if Killian does decide to quest, it would be pretty relevant. But right now it's only on 1 strength, and Killian would have to play 2 additional characters to trigger the ability to get it to 3. So I'm not sure if that's possible unless there's a lot of 1-cost. But a card I do want to talk about in here, there's some 1-cost Rhinos. So people might be wondering, that's quite interesting. Why is this card in the deck? Well, first of all, of course, it does combo with Under the Sea if that's being played, which usually Under the Sea combos very well with the 7-cost Tramp. But even outside of Under the Sea, I think people really underestimate this card. This card, again, it's all about breakpoints in Disney Lorcana TCG, in my opinion. If you can change something, for example, I believe the Bell was targeted here.
Correct.
Suddenly, if this Daisy is exerted, then Bell can't challenge into it, right?
Yes, and of course with Rhino, it's until your next turn, right?
Yes.
Then that's very important. Not all cards are like that. Sometimes it's just for this turn,
Yes.
but anytime a card ability says until your next turn, I love it.
Yes, but now I think we could see a sing together of second star to the right.
And straight on till morning, straight on to 5 cards.
Very, very nicely done. I was going to try and hopefully find a few more answers. I do believe one of them picked up looks like there's another Elsa, there's a Madame Elephant, and they never come back. That's going to be pretty crucial as we get into the late game, as Killian starts to quest a little bit more. You basically freeze these exerted characters so they can't ready and start questing the next turn. But Elsa comes down, is able to exert this lady, which means the Rafiki can freely challenge into it. And now Atlantis is building up her board of her own right now.
Yeah, one thing with the Amber Emerald deck is you want to be questing. It doesn't have a lot of high-strength characters to do challenges. And so if we get to that point where Atlantis has a really wide board and is representing a lot of lore, hopefully Killian can find that Under the Sea. I don't know. What is he going to look for?
I think, again, I'm not even 100% sure that it's in the deck, but I'm very much assuming if the Rhino's in there, it would kind of make a lot of sense that what am I saying? One of the first cards we saw discarded was Under the Sea.
Yes,
My apologies. But yes, right now, this current board, Under the Sea, would be pretty good. It deals with everything except the Bell. So if there is a way to try and draw some additional cards to find that would be exactly what Killian is looking for. Plays this Tramp. Actually, this Tramp is like the one card we did mention, there's not a lot of high-strength characters to challenge back into, but this Tramp is one of the cards that does allow some of your characters to make some decent challenges indeed.
And we do see Killian challenging, get rid of that Bell. Both Rafikis now off the board, and Atlantis is drawing a Bell off of that Daisy Duck trigger.
Indeed, yeah. Atlantis, a lot of her board has been lost. However, we do have this 5-cost Elsa on board. I believe there's 5 ink available. We could 6 ink, yes. Okay. So even without even inking, we could see a potential shift Elsa Spirit of Winter come down to start freezing even more characters.
I would love to see that. I love a shift Elsa, honestly.
And yeah, it's really funny because as we're getting to that 7 ink, that 8 ink, Atlantis, I think, especially after singing something like Second Star to the Right, would have really loved to have an additional Monstro in hand, right? And then say, okay, I'm going to just start to clear this board off.
Yes, that Monstro would be nice. We're still not quite up to the ink amount that we'd need to play it, but
I'm also not sure how many copies of it that's been run. We did see 2 go into the inkwell. I believe it's usually 2 to 3 copies, so there could only be 1 left in the deck. But I'm curious to see, this is a very, very interesting turn for Atlantis. Plenty of cards in hand, many different options available. So rather than doing the Shift Elsa line, I think could just take her time, make a few challenges, establish more characters. And right now, I do believe there's a second Bell in hand. So Bell could utilize this damage counter, put it onto something like the Rhino, the Bobby. I think this would be a very, very good play.
Yeah, she had picked up that Bell from the Daisy trigger on Killian's turn, so she definitely could do that. I feel like she does have some nice answers in here that she could play.
Yeah,
Oh,
decides to
playing
play
the
Genie instead. Very interesting, yeah. There's some stuff, for example, like the 2 damage could have been moved to the Daisy. Genie could have challenged the Daisy. But at the same time, Atlantis kind of wants to leave these Daisies on the board for the moment because they're going to just keep giving her additional cards as they quest.
Now, playing that Sail the Azurite Sea, and she picked up another Into the Unknown. That's actually really great.
It's really, really, really good here. It's the tricky
Two
thing about...
Elsas. She has
Two
two
Elsas,
big Elsas
absolutely
in hand.
huge here, yeah. 2 Elsas and 2 they never come back, so in the next couple of turns, I think we're going to see a lot of these freeze effects happening, essentially. Going to prevent a lot of Killian's cards from readying at the start of his turn. So, you know, and there it is. They never come back. This card, I have to say, I've been just making sure that Killian understands what the card does because it's not a card that's commonly played in a lot of these decks, but I've tested with this card quite a lot, and I've been genuinely thoroughly impressed.
Using that Genie to sing Into the Unknown, and Daisy goes into the unknown of Killian's Inkwell.
Yes, so passing back over to Killian here, the Rhino and Clarabelle Contented Wallflower have been left to the wayside, signifying that they cannot ready at the start of his turn. Many different options available. Very, very curious. Again, I mean, the thing with Under the Sea now is there's no 7-cost tramp remaining on the board. So while all of the characters on Atlantis' side of the board still have 2 strength or less, there's not enough Singer power on the board for Killian right now.
Yep, and that Daisy trigger found a Develop Your Brain for Atlantis, so that went onto the bottom of her deck. You know what's interesting with this Amber Emerald deck is you kind of want to quest early in the game to get really far ahead. And Killian, he's at 9, but not as explosive of a start that you maybe would want to see from this deck. And I feel like that is working to Atlantis' favor because now we're getting into this late game stage where she has a lot of ink and a lot of cards available to her to play.
It's a great point, yeah, and it's kind of, I think, just like all of these different variations we've been talking about, right? Like some of the 1 costs, like some of the Amber Emerald decks are playing like Cursed Merfolk, right? Much more aggressive cards in terms of lore representation. Whereas a lot of the 1 costs here, they're just like, they're bobbies, they're rhinos, they just kind of quest for 1. Of course, Daisy is a very, very nice card to see. So, and we also haven't seen that all-important card we've been talking about. Not even sure if it's in Killian's deck. That Emerald Chromicon, I think that card could really be helping him out right now if it was on the board.
I think you are exactly right. When you have the Emerald Chromicon, is that a 4 of always when you're playing that?
No, I don't think so, because if you draw multiple copies of that, it's not too great, and you never really want to have... If you can get 2 out on the board, sure, you're probably... I mean, if you have 1 on the board, you're probably doing all right already. So usually I want to see you see about 2 copies, maybe maximum 3 in these decks. The Shift Elsa, Spirit of Winter coming down here, though. Really, really nice. Able to exert that Lady Miss Park Avenue and also continue to freeze this Clarabelle Contented Wallflower. And yeah, Elsa going to make the challenge and banish that Daisy Duck Donald's date to the discard pile.
And then we're also going to take out Rhino with the other Genie. Atlantis doing a lot of work there with that Elsa. And Into the Unknown on Tramp, cleaning up Killian's side of the board. Now left with just 2 glimmers on. And of course, they were both frozen. So at the start of his next turn, he can't do anything.
He can't do anything at all. And those cards are going to remain exerted, meaning if Atlantis really, really wants to, next turn, they could just use the Elsa Spirit of Winter to essentially trade off that Lady Miss Park Avenue. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what options Killian has available to them. But you made a fantastic point. Yes, this deck did not have so much of an explosive start as we've seen from other Amber Emerald decks. And what usually happens against a lot of these Sapphire Amethyst Blurple decks is the later the game goes, the harder it is to win. That they just keep getting so much value, multiple Elsas, multiple second stars, Hades, Monstro, all of these cards. The later the game goes, the better the chance they have of winning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure Atlantis is in there like, yeah, let's keep this going. Let's keep rolling, keep building up my Inkwell. She still has another Elsa Spirit of Winter in her hand and a Hades.
She has lots of time here as well. Lots and lots of time. Like 40 minutes left on the clock. Yes, this is still game 1. However, I think, okay.
Okay.
Ursula comes down. Is there an Into the Unknown? There's not.
Not a song. So, of course, that lady family dog that came down, you can play another character for 2 or less for free. Playing that Ursula Deceiver and getting to snipe get a good song card, but nothing for Ursula to take.
What's actually very interesting is I think Ursula's gotten even better against Sapphire Amethyst because usually it used to be Into the Unknown, but sometimes you can get rid of like a key second star to the right at certain at certain times for sure. Okay, so we had the They Never Come Back played, and the Hades comes down to take out that lady family dog. Super, super big board from Atlantis, and now it's time to turn on the gas. Let's start questing. It's going to be a total of 7 lore gained, I believe, bringing Atlantis all the way up to 9 lore. It's going to be 9 apiece now.
Yes, it is. This is a shift here, I think, in the game. Atlantis is going to start questing, and Killian right now does not have the answers for those characters and for challenges. Of course, both genies are evasive.
Yeah, there's not many evasive characters within Killian's deck, unfortunately. Only real answers to these genies is probably trying to get to the Under the Sea. There is enough ink available if a card was inked, but it's maybe a little too late. If you do that at this stage, you're still just the Elsa and the Hades are going to stay on the board too.
I think maybe I saw a go-go in his hand.
Okay, go-go is something.
I mean, that's
right?
something.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what I saw.
Go-go's the type of card, though, honestly, where it can really surprise players if they're not aware of it. For example, we saw an amazing play last weekend. I really do want to highlight this because I think for this specific matchup, it's very, very important. There was a player who was on about 17, 18 lore. If they get the go-go, they're about to win. The Blurple player had an Elsa on their board with 4 damage. Here's the go-go. This is perfect example.
Challenging with that Clarabelle Contented Flower into Elsa to take that damage up to 5, and then playing the go-go to gain 5 lore,
Huge
going
play.
up to 14 over here on Killian's side of the board.
Yeah, a couple more of those go-go's, and that's exactly what you want to see. Yeah, the point I was making there. Sorry, no. That was a great thing to point out for sure. Yeah, basically the only way they could win is they top deck a go-go. The Elsa has damage. What the Blurple player did was so impressive in my opinion. They played Into the Unknown on their own Elsa so that there was no damage character on the card. And what do they draw? They draw go-go and they lose the game. It's plays like that I want to see, right? So even this is actually very interesting because, of course, Killian does want to keep questing, does want to keep progressing their win condition. But now, if Atlantis recognizes, okay, I don't know if I want to leave this Elsa on the board with 5 damage, they could just challenge in with the Elsa so that 5 damage is completely gone, right? There's no fear of go-go anymore right now.
Man, that go-go came in for Killian at the right moment. There is a story on board for Killian right now. It is Atlantis' hand, and she needs to answer this board.
Indeed, yeah. Lots of different things have to be done here. I'm not too sure how many cards are available in the hand of Atlantis. Probably a few different options. But I don't believe, have we seen the second Elsa, Spirit of Winter? I don't think so. So that will really help out, I think, here. So that's the potential option. Yes, exactly. Makes this challenge exactly what I said. Values 5 damage on this Elsa is a lot in case another go-go comes down. That's a lot of damage indeed.
Lot of lore. Taking a look through the discard pile.
I think that's pretty interesting. Taking a look through the discard, probably seeing if there is another Lady Miss Park Avenue. Are there any go-go's in there that can give you that extended reach to end the game right here, right now?
Yeah, and I know that new players playing Disney Lorcana TCG may not know this, but your discard pile that's public information.
Yes, correct.
So your opponent can look through your discard at any time and can be really helpful to see, if I know most players are usually playing this many copies of this card, you can look through the discard, kind of get an idea of what might be left in their
Correct,
deck.
yeah, how many have been used. I mean, it's you do have to guesstimate because some cards can be inked, but if you've got a good memory, you can remember if those cards have been inked for sure. This might be the egg cost, Elsa.
Yeah,
I have a feeling it is.
It has to be. Yep, it is that Spirit of Winter coming down. Atlantis thinking, which 2 characters do I want to freeze here?
It's kind of tricky because, like, I think one might be the Clarabelle in case the Clarabelle shift comes down potentially. One could be the Go-Go. I'm not even sure how many like effects there are right now where, like, say, for example, Go-Go could be bounced back to hand and then replayed. I know there's some odd stuff like family fishing pole and stuff not really played in these decks at the moment, but it's really, really interesting. And exactly what Atlantis was doing earlier, it's like as soon as this Go-Go goes into the discard pile, if there is another Lady Miss Park Avenue, then it just comes back into the hand, right? So it's kind of like, it's not bouncing exactly, but it's like going in this triangle from the hand to the board to the discard back into the hand, right?
Okay, so she is choosing that Go-Go Tamago as well as one of the Clarabelle Contented Wallflowers. There is still another Clarabelle left, so if he finds that shift, still could be played and used for something.
Yeah, could be used, yes, to get extra cards, but maybe what's even valued more is like that extra lore. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think questing is what Killian wants to be doing right now, putting on the pressure.
We can't forget though as well, Atlantis on 13 lore herself. So like this is one thing I will say I'm actually quite guilty of at some stages. I really like to play decks like Emerald Sapphire where I'm so focused on controlling the board, making sure I'm in control of the game, when sometimes I need to recognize, oh, I'm like a couple of quests away from winning. I should turn on the gas myself. As long as my opponent doesn't have the reach to end the game, I'll just win the next turn, right? So it's pivotal moments like that that are really, really important. I think sometimes players can get super focused on the board state, making sure I can make correct challenges, correct trades, and you kind of say, oh, maybe I just quest and next turn I win, right?
And that is the case here for Atlantis, who has 9 lore on board.
Yep. And a lot of these characters are very difficult to interact with.
And that is game. That is game, right? Killian did not have the answer there, and Atlantis had so much lore on the board. She has taken game 1 in this match.
Yes,
what did you think of that?
That was absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Super, super interesting. And the most interesting thing about that is just, again, kind of exploring a different version of Amber Emerald. It has a lot of similarities to the other decks. Maybe doesn't have so much of those high lore characters in the early game, but I was really impressed by something like the inclusion of a Rhino in that deck.
Yes.
It actually did a lot of work, in my opinion.
It really did. I think one of the things that I loved seeing there was with Atlantis and her deck. I feel like she was just so intentional about every move that she made, every decision that she made, and it felt slow at first for her, but every decision that she made got her into that late game, so she had access to those cards, to those Elsa, Spirit of Winter, and all those micro decisions that led up to her winning that first game.
100%, yeah, and I think that the They Never Come Back was also very, very important. I think that's the card that I've seen a lot of Blurple players including. I don't know if it's specifically for the Amber Emerald matchup, but it also helps against something like Amber Steel or any of these aggressive decks. This card is a little bit underrated in my opinion, and it's proved to be quite effective as we saw in this game.
Yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see some of these deck lists.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And after this, 2 more rounds of Swiss, and then we're going into a top 32. Once we get there, it will be open deck lists for the players.
Indeed, yeah. So players will usually have about 5 minutes to look over each other's deck lists, and it's a very different game in my opinion. Once you kind of know, okay, they've got 3 copies of exactly what you said about like kind of checking the discard pile and saying, oh, well, most versions of these decks play 2 copies, but then when it's open deck list, you see all of the information, right? And it's even, I think once you get to that stage as well, a lot of the spicier tech cards, they start to become a little bit less valuable. So those cards are really great in the Swiss rounds when it's closed deck lists, and then as you move to open deck lists, players say, oh, they're running this. I need to be very aware of this so it doesn't catch me off guard.
Yeah.
You know?
Now going into game 2, of course, now these players know. They know what decks each other are playing. They don't know the specifics, of course, but especially for Warwick, losing game 1, what is he looking to do in game 2?
Game 2, let's see. I think they need to have a little bit of a stronger start. Wants to really come out of the gate running. Do you know what it was? I think they did a decent job. The biggest issue was, I think Atlantis just answered with a very strong hand herself. The double Rafikis, we have to remember, that's not very common to see within Blurple.
It was kind of a standoff there at the beginning of the game. Warwick had a lot of characters. He could have been questing for a lot, but the moment he turned anything sideways, he knew that he was going to lose those characters. Those glimmers were going to be gone because of those Rafikis.
Yeah, because and the Rafikis were absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. And we talked about, the hand was looking a little bit rough at the start. There was the 10 cost uninkable second start to the right, the Elsa. Monstro, yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe can we afford to play these Rafikis? But I think it was definitely the correct decision in the end, for sure.
Yeah, and I think a player like Atlantis, when you're playing at this level, it's all those repetitions, right?
Yes.
The repetitions of the game. They know these decks inside and out, the cards, they know the matchups. And she knew those Rafikis were important to get out there on the board. She really valued having those challengers there.
Definitely. Okay, well, we do have an interview coming your way very, very soon. So I think it's actually right now. So let's pass it over to the interview booth.
Benvenuti, Illuminatori, welcome back. Myself and Baker are joined here by Melissa. We got to watch the end of your game. Absolutely phenomenal. But I had to mention, you flew all the way out here from the States. Is this your first DLC here in Europe?
So it's my first European DLC. It's technically my second European event because I played in the Stockholm CCQ with Nordic Realm last week.
Absolutely phenomenal. I'm bringing that under the dog deck. We saw it's quite represented. The Sea Dog deck. You definitely prepared for a lot of Emerald Sapphire. Did you prepare much for the mirror? Did you expect much of that to come in? Because I really want to know if you faced any mirrors yesterday, because there was a long day of Swiss, and it was a long day, and I'd love to know if you prepared a lot for that, and if you had much of that yesterday. Did you face it?
So I actually faced the mirror 3 times yesterday. It was, I think, it was either the last 3 rounds or 3 of the 4 last rounds. Luckily, I was able to 2-0 the mirror all 3 times, which was awesome. I don't know that I expected to play a lot of the mirror, but I definitely practiced and kind of made sure I understood my lines so that I was prepared for it.
So why dogs? Walk us through it. Like, talk to me like I've never played Lorcana. Okay, maybe that's a bit far, but like, why was dogs such a popular deck? Again, there were people like Zach Bivens and other big names in the room that were also on that list. Explain to us why that was the choice for today.
So I have 2 answers, and I'm going to start with the fun answer.
Funny first. Okay, let's do it.
Lady and the Tramp is my favorite character
I was
and
saying
movie,
that the whole
which
time.
I think you've known because we talked about it.
Melissa was going to play these cards whether they were good or not. Just thankfully they're very good.
I've played them when they were bad, and my friends have said, why are you playing a bad deck? Wait until it's a good deck. And luckily the time has come that it is a good deck. But for real, what made me decide to take it is early in the meta, in like local events, a US CCQ and other stuff, I played Amethyst Steel. And I went 6-3, 6-3, and 5-3 in 9-round, 9-round, 8-round, respectively, which is a great record. Like, I was very happy with that, but it was 1 win shy of getting me to the top 6 teams, which can be quite frustrating. And the matchups on that deck that I kept losing to was either Emerald Sapphire or Amethyst Sapphire. So I kind of sat back, took a look, and said, 1, I'm playing in Europe, and I don't know these players as well. Like, historically, we've had similar metas, but they're not always the same. And 2 is, how do I tackle these 2 decks that were beating me on a different deck? And I decided the best way that I could do that was with, it's kind of an aggro deck because it goes very quick, but it's also like a combo deck and has control aspects with Singing Under the Sea and other stuff. So I spent probably 2 weeks playing, tweaking, perfecting. I brought it to Stockholm where I top 32'd. I lost in top 32 to Sapphire Amethyst, which was myself a little frustrating because it's a matchup that I felt confident into, but it's Lorcana. We can't win everything. And I was happy with my performance, so I changed some cards, and here we are.
So we just saw you facing off against Emerald Sapphire, which you just said is one of the matchups that you like maybe are not as keen on. What went right for you in that match, in your opinion?
So I think there's 2 things. Given that we're both Emerald decks, we both have access to Under the Sea. Technically, we both have access to Ursula 2 as well, to take opponent's songs. Now, not every Emerald Sapphire deck is playing Ursula 2 because they're trying to play Tipo or Sail and kind of ramp and get ahead of you. So me having Ursula means I have the ability to basically steal their song. And I know that by the time they're ready to shift Clarabelle, they either have both Clarabelle and Under the Sea, or they have the under the sea and are looking for that shift target. It could be Baymax also. They need 8 in some capacity. So in game 1, I was able on my turn 3 to go Lady 3 into Ursula 2, look at his hand, he had the shift and the under the sea, so I took that, put him in a position where now he has to draw into another one and challenge my board, and I'm very wide. And I think 1 or 2 turns later, he had a shift Baymax, and I think it was the 2/3 Clarabelle. I just got rid of the 2/3 Clarabelle because then he only had a singer of Baymax on board, which is not enough to sing Under the Sea, and he was only at 6 ink. So I put myself in a position where I say, I quest out, answer me. So that was game 1. And in game 2, he did eventually find the Under the Sea, but at that point, I was so close to the end, and he had ramped me to 5 ink, and I had Lady 5 in my hand. So I knew that I could play a 4/4 that he has to answer and return the go-go to my hand. Yes, right. So I'm in a position where I tell him, dump my hand, and I have a 2-quester on the board, because maybe you're playing Ben to my will, I don't know. Or on the flip side, get rid of my body, and I'm going to go for 2 and win. So that's
So
what
just
happened.
asking more questions than they have answers for. Last thing I want to ask you before I throw it back to Kim is just because of what you just said about Ursula. Are players getting greedy with their songs? Are they holding their strengths? Are they holding, are they not respecting Ursula the way they would pre-rotation in your experience this weekend?
I do think people are a little bit more, I'm going to hold it. A couple teammates of mine have played Amber Steel and other Emerald decks and have said to me that if you spend a turn to play Ursula, so let's say I go 1-drop into Ursula, that means I'm not going 1-drop, 1-drop, which means that I am not as easily able to get to my Tramp 7. So sometimes they like that because it's kind of slowing down that particular game plan. Now, granted, I can get greedy and play that Pluto Good Dog.
I noticed that. That was pretty spicy. I like that. But hey, it makes sense watching you pilot it yesterday.
Right. So it enables me to then play Lady Ursula on my turn 2, which is huge for me. It enables shift lines. It enables me to...
They're just like, they're bobbies, they're rhinos. They just kind of quest for 1. Of course, Daisy. Not enough singer. Now, a lot of Killian... I do believe there's a second bell in hand, so 3 copies, so the second starts to the right. Would have really loved to have an additional Monstro in hand, right, and then say, okay, I'm going to just start to clear this board off.
Yes, that Monstro would be nice. We're still not quite up to the ink amount that we'd need to play it, but...
I'm also not sure how many copies of it that's been run. We did see 2 go into the inkwell. I believe it's usually 2 to 3 copies, so there could only be 1 left in the deck. I'm curious to see, like, this is a very, very interesting turn for Atlantis. Plenty of cards in hand, many different options available. So rather than doing the Shift Elsa line, I think could just, like, take her time, make a few challenges, establish more characters. And right now, I do believe there's a second Bell in hand. So Bell could utilize this damage counter, put it onto something like the Rhino, the Bobby. I think this would be a very, very good play.
Yeah, she had picked up that Bell from the Daisy trigger on Killian's turn, so she definitely could do that. I feel like she does have some nice answers in here that she could play.
Yeah,
oh,
decides to play Genie instead. Very interesting, yeah. There's some stuff, for example, like the 2 damage could have been moved to the Daisy. Genie could have challenged the Daisy. But at the same time, Atlantis kind of wants to leave these Daisies on the board for the moment because they're going to just keep giving her additional cards as they quest.
Now, playing that Sail the Azurite Sea, and she picked up another Into the Unknown. That's actually really great.
Really, really, really good here. It's the tricky thing
about... 2 Elsas. She has 2
Elsas.
big
Absolutely
Elsas in
huge here, yeah. 2 Elsas and 2 they never come back. So in the next couple of turns, I think we're going to see a lot of these freeze effects happening, essentially. Going to prevent a lot of Killian's cards from readying at the start of his turn. So You know, and there it is. They never come back. This card, I have to say, I've been just making sure that Killian understands what the card does, because it's not a card that's commonly played in a lot of these decks, but I've tested with this card quite a lot, and I've been genuinely thoroughly impressed.
Using that Genie to sing Into the Unknown, and Daisy goes into the unknown of Killian's. Inkwell.
Quite a lot, and I've been prevent a lot of Killian's cards from readying at the start of his turn. So, you know, and there it is. They never come back. This card, I have to say, I've been just making sure that Killian understands what the card does, because it's not a card that's commonly played in a lot of these decks, but I've tested with this card quite a lot, and I've been genuinely thoroughly impressed.
Using that Genie to sing Into the Unknown, and Daisy goes into the unknown of Killian's Inkwell.
Yes, so passing back over to Killian here, the Rhino and Clarabelle Contented Wallflower have been left to the wayside, signifying that they cannot ready at the start of his turn. Many different options available. Very, very curious. Again, I mean, the thing with Under the Sea now is there's no 7-cost tramp remaining on the board. So while all of the characters on Atlantis' side of the board still have 2 strength or less, there's not enough Singer power on the board for Killian right now.
Yep, and that Daisy trigger found a Develop Your Brain for Atlantis, so that went onto the bottom of her deck. You know what's interesting with this Amber Emerald deck?
There has been 2 Ruby Amethyst decks. I know Baker's super excited. I previously got to cast the other Ruby Amethyst deck with Kawa, and this, I believe, is the 2nd Ruby Amethyst, and there's 2 that made it into today.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my bingo card. I didn't expect to see it, but we've got Dries from Belgium up against Bartosz from Poland. So Belgium versus Poland, and we've got Diablo down on the board for Dries, and for Bartosz, it's the Basil. It's going to be Madam Mim into the ink. No ramp, of course, in a Amethyst Ruby deck, but Lumiere as a nice option on turn 2. This Diablo now with a 1 strength stat line. Really nice synergy there, protecting it from the challenge from Basil. Of course, now if Basil was to challenge, it would be a trade.
Yes, it would be indeed. And these Lumieres, we've seen it previously, and I love the use of this Lumiere. Knowing you're playing against a lot of Emerald decks, they're running Under the Sea. With cards like this Lumiere, if you have multiple of them on the board, it makes cards like your Genie, which is a 2/4, be a 3/4. Can't be targeted by Under the Sea unless your opponent has that heads held high Under the Sea combo.
Yeah, we actually saw Lumiere creeping into the metagame in set 8, Reign of Jafar, giving your Peter Pan Shadow Finder that extra bit of strength, for example. But here, really, that Under the Sea protection. Of course, previously it protected you from Brawl as well, like your Genie is out the range of Brawl. In Core Constructed, that's not relevant, but the Under the Sea protection, huge. Tipo for Bartosz on turn 2. Inking your welcome, Kim, that's always a sign that your hand is maybe heavy on uninkables. Maybe you don't have the Clarabelle shift line, because you really don't want to ink your welcome, or perhaps, of course, there could be a second Maleficent Monstrous Dragon into the Inkwell for Dries. Not a card you see all that often, Kim. It's a 9-cost character with no ramp in the deck. It's going to be difficult to get to that, but the fact it's inkable goes a long way. Of course, that is the Set Champs promo card. You get 1 for participation, and if you come in the top 8, you get an enchanted promo Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. So get down to your local stores for the Set Champs season, which started this very weekend, Kim.
Yeah, and that card was reprinted this set. And another card that has been reprinted was Cusco Wanted Llama. Yeah. And I love Emperor's New Groove. And Cusco Wanted Llama, when this character challenges and is banished, you may draw a card.
Yeah, it just is banished. But
when
look at that.
It's just banished, yeah, in a
Basil
challenge.
shift, the Floodborn Basil comes through. Not a card you see every day.
No.
Tipo is going to take out the Diablo, but Dries will draw for the Diablo. But this Basil shift, it's a 6 cost, and whenever you ink, you may pay 1 ink to discard a card from your opponent's hand. But it is only able to be activated once per turn, I do believe. But shifting cards in Emerald Sapphire is really nice. helping you sing Under the Sea, Heads Held High. Kuzco's going to take out Tipo.
Yeah, I was even thinking myself for Bartos here. He could have shifted if he had the Baymax on top of the Basil to sing under this and early Under the Sea to be able to clear the board. But I like this Basil even more.
It's really interesting. I saw Zan, Syed, and his good friend Jeremy playing this Basil in their Emerald Sapphire decks on the first opening weekend of the Fabled meta. And Bartosz clearly liking it as well. In comes Lewis. It's going to give Reckless to the Lumiere. Kim, is it Lewis or is it Louis? Because I never quite know. I thought it was Louis.
I feel like he's Louis. You know, he plays a trumpet. He's a musical jazzy fellow. I believe it's Louis. But he does enter play exerted, meaning Drace could have the opportunity to challenge here. But and the Lumiere being given Reckless is going to have to challenge unless he has a song to sing.
Yep. Dumbo down on the board. And that Lumiere, nice synergy with the Kuzco as well as that Diablo that we saw earlier on. So the Lumiere looking like a really solid turn 2 play. A lot of the turn 2 cards in Disney Lorcana at the moment, outside of Tipo and Sail, can feel a little bit underwhelming. Calhoun, I think, is a standout. But this Lumiere, we don't see Ruby represented too much. It's the least represented ink color in this tournament. But Lumiere, a really interesting way to have a turn 2 play. It's going to be Elsa into ink, Elsa on the board.
Yeah, it's going to exert the Basil. We're going to challenge into that Louis. And that Lumiere, once again, giving the Elsa the extra strength to be able to challenge and banish that Louis.
Yeah, really nicely done. Driss challenging with the Lumiere, and Bartosz now having their Basil traded out with the Dumbo and the Lumiere. This suggests that Driss fancies their chances in the long game. They're not just questing, they're actually challenging and slowing down Bartosz's game plan.
Yeah, just really showing the power. Amethyst Ruby is not out. It's still playable. And he's really showing how he can control the board. And we know how controlling these Emerald Sapphire decks can be. But Ruby Amethyst is still here. It's still being played.
And one weakness that Bartosz's deck might have is up against B-King Undisputed. You've got no Tipo left on the board, but there's no B-King. But there is 2 Elsas and a Kuzco to take out the Donald Duck. Kuzco, when banished, will draw a card.
Yeah, and even using cards, because you know the Amethyst, they're going to draw so many cards. But even, it also has the ability for the moving damage ability. So many possibilities in this deck. And I just have to commend these players for just bringing something different to the format here today.
Most certainly, we do see Clarabelle light on her hooves, drawing Bartosz 2 cards. Driss now going to ink the Madam Mim. In comes a Sisu and a Lumiere, but Driss with no cards left in hand, which isn't ideal. But when you're up against a Clarabelle, that is a necessary evil, trying to play around that Clarabelle. The fact that Bartosz was able to get 2 cards off of Clarabelle is significant. And the other thing is, even when Clarabelle's not drawing you cards, it's still a 5-6 stat line quest for 2. Big card off the top for Driss. The Genie's a great find, Kim.
Absolutely. Genie, wish fulfilled, going to draw him a card. I also loved how Driss was able to play enough characters on the board here. And we had a 5-cost Elsa, we had 3-cost Sisu, and a 2-cost Lumiere. Meaning, if that top deck was even a second star to the right, he would have been able to sing it and draw himself 5 cards. But I like him being able to empty his hand, meaning that his opponent is not going to be able to draw cards off Clarabelle at the end of his turn.
It's so nice to see players from Belgium and Poland represented here, both with big Disney Lorcana communities. Of course, there is going to be a Disney Lorcana challenge in Belgium in Season 2, and there's a big Polish community. I played in a tournament in Poland before, and there is many extremely passionate players from the Polish community. And Bartosz Dragon, what a great name that is.
What a great name. I want to be Sir Dragon.
Yeah.
Mr. Dragon? Oh my gosh. And he's up against Maleficent Dragon. We've seen it go into the inkwell earlier.
The Basil comes down. The Clarabelle's inked. And Driss has to discard the 1 card in hand. And that Maui Half Shark has been discarded. Basil putting in so much work, the disguised detective, showing exactly why they have made the cut in this deck list.
Yeah, absolutely huge. But this Belle Accomplished Mystic's going to come in, going to move the damage off the Elsa onto one of the Clarabelles. Can he challenge to get rid of one of these Clarabelles? No cards in hand, unfortunately. Was top deck to Belle. Wasn't able to maybe top deck a second star to the right, or maybe Finders Keepers or something he's looking for to help him draw cards. but so many more cards on the board for Drace here. But facing two Clarabelles?
This was a big decision from Driss, deciding to quest instead of challenging the Clarabelle. Bartosz now plays an improvise, so pays 1 to give strength to Basil and draws a card. Good way of dealing with illusions. Hades comes through and Bell sent into the Inkwell.
Yeah, and
triple quest.
Yes, and already going up to 6 lore to 10. Neither player is out of it yet, but this Genie and Elsa and Sisu being evasive, meaning the only way Bartosz can really clear them is going to be under the sea.
Yeah, and this top deck for Driss. This is what Bartosz's deck is doing with the Clarabelle. Driss is incentivized to keep few cards in hand, and that's why the Basil is in the list. You can see Bartosz actually jumped up to 12 lore. There was a bit of a delay there on the lore tracker, but just so everyone's following, it is 10 lore to 12. Bartosz can quest for 6 this turn, getting up to 18. They are 2 lore away from victory. In comes the Develop Your Brain. Bartosz's deck list, Kim, really, really fascinating. We're seeing Develop Your Brains, Improvise, Basils.
Yes.
It will be fascinating to see what they've cut from these sort of standard versions of the deck to fit this. Another Develop Your Brain. I gotta say, Kim, the Improvise and Develop Your Brain, 2 of my favorite cards in this deck. You just get to cycle through, find your good cards, put a teapot on the bottom, maybe with the Develop. There's a sail. Bartosz just continuing to look for the good stuff.
Yeah, Bartosz really here trying to find an answer to these evasive cards. Perhaps maybe he's looking for You're Welcome. Maybe we're looking for an Under the Sea. But choosing, maybe didn't find it, but says, I'm already ahead on lore. He's
Big
going to
moment off
quest
the top,
up
Kim.
to 18.
Driss needs something which impacts the board immediately. Be Prepared would do the job, but of course it's not in core constructed anymore. Is that a scoop?
Is that a scoop? It's a scoop. We're going to be going into game 2. Drace this time going to be on the play. Unfortunately, Bartosz really just was able to take control back of that game and just take the board. 2 Clarabelles and a Hades and a Basil for the win.
Absolutely. Really, really impressive. That Basil had such a big impact.
Yes.
Just the Genie was the top card off the deck. The Genie came down, Maui Half Shark was the card found. Of course, you're never going to ink the Half Shark, but leaving 1 card in hand in that situation is exactly why Basil is in the deck. Okay, you've got the Shift line early on in the game. That can contest against the aggro decks like Amber Steel, but in the late game, the Basil becomes so powerful. Often those Emeralds, when you're playing against Emerald Sapphire, your opponent, you're just going to have like 1 card in hand, and that Basil takes full advantage in that moment. It was huge. And Kim, I've got to say, I'm not too surprised to see that this is a tricky matchup for Ruby Amethyst. When you're playing an Amethyst deck, Clarabelle is usually a tricky matchup, and particularly when your opponent is ramping and you're not, it's going to be a really tough game to get a foothold in. And really, they just ran away with it. Ruby Amethyst just couldn't quite secure enough of a foothold in that game, and it honestly was quite comfortable in the end for Emerald Sapphire.
Yeah, unfortunately, we know Amethyst has the ability, a lot of abilities to draw a lot of cards. We saw the Cusco, he was banished. He got to draw a card. Unfortunately, he just didn't have any cards in hand. He was top decking a lot of the time. Unfortunately, just didn't have the answers to be able to deal with these high strength, high willpower characters like the Clarabelle and the Hades that were on his opponent's board.
Yeah, so for game 2, it will be interesting to see if Ruby Amethyst can get that foothold in the early game. I think these Emerald Sapphire decks, so often you get yourself into a really winning or losing position within those first 4 to 5 turns. And for Driss, it's just going to be about trying to survive the early game, get into a late game state where they can try and outvalue Bartosz. I would imagine it's going to be an uphill battle though for Driss, but they are going to be going first in this game number 2.
Yep. It's going to help him immensely